Chapter 500. More or less. Song Huawu sighed, I can only help you this much. I estimate that the Supernatural Investigation Bureau will soon send people to arrest you. Once you show up, the consequences will be unimaginable. I understand. Xiao Qin took a deep breath, but he did not regret it. Yang Tan, this person would always be a scourge if he was not killed. At most, he would hide for a period of time, then find a place to improve his strength. When his strength increased, he would appear again. This Yang Tan, even after death, still caused trouble for him. Xiao Qin was a little depressed, especially Xia Shibin. He was really a sinister person. Then let's do this first. If you have something, don't contact me again. I will buy another SIM card to contact you. This card will probably be monitored soon. Song Huawu said. Alright, why don't you send me a private message directly from the Warrior Guild's client? Xiao Qin said. Alright. Song Huawu responded. Even if the Supernatural Investigation Bureau wanted to arrest Xiao Qin, it was impossible for them to investigate his Warrior Guild account. There was no need for that. After hanging up the phone, Xiao Qin fell into deep thought. There were many experts in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Just Yang Tan alone was an expert at the Martial Master Level 1. They even had guns, which really gave Xiao Qin a headache. Yang Tan and the others were probably the only ones who dared to open fire in public. They were really black sheep. No wonder these aristocratic families were so ruthless. Even the Liu family, a mafia family, did not dare to openly use guns. Elder Heaven Ancestor, didn't you say that cultivators are very powerful? What if I encounter guns now? This was an important question that Xiao Qin had to consider. Well, Elder Heaven Ancestor said, you are still too weak. If you break through the Qi refinement stage and enter the foundation establishment stage, you will not have so many concerns. For cultivators, the Qi refinement stage is a very short stage. Any cultivator with a little talent will quickly pass this stage. No one will stay in the Qi refinement stage forever. With that kind of talent, there is no need to cultivate. Are you scolding me or scolding me? Xiao Qin was a little speechless. I'm not scolding you. How many months have you been cultivating? Wasn't that short? It's even shorter than mine. Many cultivators break through during seclusion. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, who knew you would cause so much trouble before you even passed the Qi condensation stage? Although the speed of the bullet is very fast, if you are at the foundation establishment stage and can use sword kinesis flight, you can completely control the direction of the bullet. You can even turn it around and kill Yang Tan. It's just that you can't lock onto such a fast target right now. Sai, even so, with the abilities of cultivators, every time I use them, I have to urge the incantation of the mantra. But the speed of the gunshot is too fast, I can't react at all. Xiao Qin smiled bitterly. It would be great if I could instantly set up illusions or launch fireballs and ice balls. It takes a few seconds every time. A few seconds isn't bad. If you could reach the foundation establishment stage, you'd be able to do it in a second. Elder Sky said, I'll say it again. Who can you blame for not being strong enough? Your strength is trash in the cultivation world. Alright. Xiao Qin was hit hard, but it was true after thinking about it. He had only been cultivating for a few months. These aristocratic families, even the martial arts aristocratic families and sects, didn't dare to compete with the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. This was a giant existence that was even more powerful than the Warrior Guild. Others couldn't wait to avoid it, so how could they have a conflict with it? If I were you, I would find a place to hide. The moment you reach the foundation establishment stage will be the moment you return to Songning. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Let me think about it. Xiao Qin fell into deep thought. At the same time, the martial arts world of Songning City was about to explode. The Supernatural Investigation Bureau's reaction speed was quite fast. Yang Tan's backer, Xia Zhili, was the deputy director of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. He had great power. When he saw the video, although he knew that Yang Tan was also responsible, he played it down. He directly determined that Xiao Qin killed a public official of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau and issued a warrant to arrest Xiao Qin in the martial arts world. The Xiao family soon welcomed a few uninvited guests. These people were members of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau's law enforcement team. Xia Zhili didn't let Song Huawu participate at all, but directly sent people to arrest Xiao Qin. And it was only at this moment that Xiao Yuanshan and Xiao Hai realized that Xiao Qin was actually the White Fox. However, they couldn't be happy anymore because according to the people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, Xiao Qin killed the team leader of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau's Team C, which was a capital crime. How could the Xiao family be happy? At this moment, Xiao Yuanshan and Xiao Hai understood why the White Fox would spare no effort to help the Xiao family, and why he was so respectful to them. It was because of this reason. If it wasn't for the current situation, they would only be happy. Xiao Qin could finally become the pillar of the Xiao family. But now, whether Xiao Qin could escape this disaster was another matter. Xiao Qin has long been kicked out of the Xiao family. He is no longer a member of our Xiao family. Did you come to the wrong place? Xiao Xiao saw that her father and grandfather were silent in shock, so she spoke to the people of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. When she mentioned Xiao Qin, Xiao Zhao's eyes were full of contempt and disdain. There is no such person in our Xiao family. The two people of the law enforcement team had long heard that Xiao Qin was kicked out of the Xiao family, but the White Fox came to help the Xiao family before. If it wasn't for this, they wouldn't have come to the Xiao family. But as far as I know, the White Fox came once before? We didn't know at that time. If we knew, I wouldn't have bothered with him. Xiao Xiao snorted. The people of the law enforcement team were curious about the internal relationship of the Xiao family. Why was the White Fox so powerful, but they didn't welcome him? But thinking about it, Xiao Qin didn't reveal his identity when he returned to the Xiao family. This could explain why Xiao Qin didn't seem to want to return. Don't worry, if I see Xiao Qin, I will tell you immediately, Xiao Xiao said. And that's good. Then we will leave first. The people of the law enforcement team nodded. Although time was limited, they had already inquired about what happened to Xiao Qin and the White Fox in Songning City during this time. The relationship between Xiao Xiao and Xiao Qin was very bad. They also heard about the several times she insulted Xiao Qin in public. They thought that if there was news of the White Fox, Xiao Xiao would definitely inform them immediately. They still had to go to the next family, and they didn't have time to stay here for too long. Hence, the two of them bid farewell and left. The Xiao family and Xiao Qin had already severed their relationship. They couldn't vent their anger on the Xiao family. After all, the Supernatural Investigation Bureau had to follow the rules when doing things. It wasn't until the people of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau left the Xiao family that Xiao Yuanshan and Xiao Hai came back to their senses. Xiao Xiao, just now if I didn't say that, would they be able to leave? What if brother comes back to find us? Xiao Xiao said. But Xiao Qin came back to help us previously and we still acted so ruthlessly. This isn't good, right? What will others think of our Xiao family? Xiao Hai said with some worry. Dad, we're helping brother by drawing a clear line with him now. The people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau might be fine, but what if the people from the Extreme Eye sect use our Xiao family as a hostage to force brother to appear? What choice would brother make then? Xiao Xiao said, only when everyone thinks that we have nothing to do with brother will they not do anything to the Xiao family. We'll be fine and that will be a great help to brother. That's right, Xiao Xiao is right. Xiao Yuanshan nodded and was very pleased. Originally, I thought that Xiao Xiao really hated Xiao Qin, but now it seems that isn't the case. Last time, I'm afraid that you and I didn't recognize Xiao Qin, but Xiao Xiao recognized him, right? Xiao Xiao's face was slightly red. I was wondering, I thought Xiao Xiao liked the White Fox. So it was you who recognized him. Xiao Hai suddenly realized. And? Xiao Zhao's face was even redder. Two people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau went to Qing Minjing's villa after leaving the Xiao family. At this time, Qing Minjing already knew the news because the news had already spread. Qing Minjing, Jin Beibei, and Yi Xiaoya were all sitting in the living room of the villa, frowning. Qing Minjing really didn't expect that the feeling she had last night would become real. Was Xiao Qin really going to leave? However, what was most unacceptable to Qing Minjing was that Xiao Qin was actually the White Fox. Then, between him and Xin Jingxian, Qing Minjing was a little unhappy when she thought that her best friend had lied to her. Although she had broken off the engagement with Xiao Qin, at least Xiao Qin was still her follower, right? Xin Jingxian was with the White Fox. How could she not know that the White Fox was Xiao Qin? Besides, Jin Beibei and Yi Xiaoya didn't seem surprised that Xiao Qin was the White Fox at all. They were just worried about his safety. Qing Minjing was a little upset. Qing Minjing couldn't help but ask, Beibei, Yi Xiaoya, did you two know that Xiao Qin was the White Fox a long time ago? Cousin Minjing, don't be angry. I guessed it, but I was afraid that you would quarrel with Sister Jingxian and feel that she had stolen your fiancé. Jin Beibei said with a bitter face. Who would be angry? Qing Minjing snorted. I don't like him at all. I'm just angry that you hid it from me. How can you blame others for your stupidity? Yi Xiaoya, however, said coldly, we all knew it but you didn't. Who are you to blame? You are just not good enough. You. Cheng Minjing glared at Yi Xiaoya angrily and said, You did it because you had the chance to get in touch with him, didn't you? If you hadn't been his partner and slept with him at night, how would you have known? You knew that he had a girlfriend but you still slept with him. You are not a good person at all. You are his fiancé. You can't control your man but you are still acting like this. You are just too lousy. Yi Xiaoya said disdainfully, He has never slept with you, has he? It means that he doesn't like you at all. He is not interested in you. End of Volume 1. Chapter 501. You. Cheng Minjing was so angry that she was about to explode. She stood up and pointed at Yi Xiaoya. You. Xiao Qin is in trouble and you're still making sarcastic remarks here. I think he's fine. Nothing will happen to him. Yi Xiaoya, however, said casually, That's why I'm not worried. Only a fiancé like you who knows nothing will worry for nothing. Cheng Minjing still wanted to say something, but the doorbell of the villa was rung. Jean Beibei hurried to open the door and saw two people dressed in the uniforms of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Is anyone here? We're from the enforcement team of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. We've been ordered to investigate Xiao Chen's case, said the leader of the two. Oh, I'm Jean Beibei. Do you know me? Jean Beibei walked over and said. Jean Beibei? The two were stunned. The leader said, We're looking for Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen isn't here. You can look for me, said Jean Beibei. Look for you? You can represent him? The leader was stunned. No, but I think. You know that I like my cousin-in-law. Jean Beibei said with a smile. The leader looked at 36J's Jean Beibei in confusion. What are you talking about? Nothing. When you see Xiao Chen's brother-in-law, he told him that Beibei is waiting for him at home and asked him when he'll be back, said Jean Beibei. You mean he hasn't been back? After listening for a long time, the leader finally understood what was going on. They had said a lot of nonsense but only one sentence was the key. Yes. I miss him. Jean Beibei said, Do you have any news about him? Any clues? No, not a clue at all. The leader said subconsciously. However, his expression changed as soon as he finished speaking. This was all confidential information. How could he tell others? Fortunately, he was relieved when he saw Jean Beibei's infatuated look. Alas, he said he would leave for a period of time. I thought he was joking but he really left. Jean Beibei sighed and said with some bitterness. Did he say where he was going? Or how long will you be gone? The leader hurriedly asked. No, I heard that he went abroad. He said that he had committed a crime and needed to lie low. Jean Beibei said, By the way, why are you looking for him? Tell me, where did you read it? An investigation center? Is he a private detective? Did he have a mistress outside and hired you to investigate me? The leader's face darkened. No, it's fine. I'm leaving. I'll come back in a few days. All right. Come in and have a seat before you leave. How much did that mistress pay you? I'll give you double. Can you help me find my cousin-in-law? Jean Beibei said. Even if you don't give us the money, we still want to find him. All right, that's it. The leader planned to quickly report to the people behind him. There was an important clue here. Xiao Chen might have run out of the country. Judging from the silly, infatuated look of the girl, she should not be lying. However, it was possible that Xiao Chen was lying to her. The two of them left as quickly as they came. In fact, they also knew that it was impossible for Xiao Chen to go home in the current situation, unless he was an idiot. He would definitely run away as soon as possible. They did not think that they would see Xiao Chen in this place at all. Jean Beibei turned around and grinned. Cheng Minjing and Yi Xiaoya had followed her out a long time ago. After hearing the conversation between Jean Beibei and the other two, they were both secretly relieved. It seemed that the people of the Supernatural Investigation Department did not have any leads on Xiao Chen at all. That was good news. However, Yi Xiaoya had to admire Jean Beibei. She had confused the people of the Supernatural Investigation Department with only a few words and accidentally revealed something important. Beibei, you are truly awesome, Cheng Minjing said. The two of them were too stupid, Jean Beibei said. Cousin Minjing, rest assured. My cousin-in-law will certainly have a solution. I hope so. Cheng Minjing sighed. The news that Xiao Chen was White Fox had been spread out. The Cheng family was the most shocked. Old Master Cheng immediately called for an emergency family meeting. Cheng Zhongming, Cheng Zhongfan, and Cheng Mingxiang were present. Xiao Chen is White Fox? What do you think? Old Master Cheng asked. Cheng Mingxiang was secretly shocked. It was truly a surprise. How could Xiao Qin be White Fox? So why was he still alive? He had to admit that it was really a miracle. Li Shaning was dead, Leng Youxiang was dead, Qin Yuhan was dead, and even Yang Jianan of the Supernatural Investigation Department was killed by White Fox. This man was a lunatic. However, he was still alive and well after dealing with Xiao Chen and the Xiao family. Dad, actually, I told you long ago that Xiao Chen is still capable. He can definitely practice. But now... Cheng Zhoming was a little excited, but he was also worried because Xiao Chen had made a big mistake and was wanted by the Supernatural Investigation Department. I think it was the right thing to break off the engagement. Fortunately, it was broken off. Otherwise, the Cheng family would be implicated. However, Cheng Zhongfan said, "This Xiao Chen is really good at enduring. This kind of person is definitely a scheming and black-bellied person. Our Cheng family definitely cannot have any dealings with him." Meng Chang, what do you think? Old Master Cheng asked. What I'm worried about is whether this Xiao Chen has any other purpose. If he showed his strength to the Cheng family before, would the Cheng family not accept him? But he didn't. Therefore, I think that Xiao Chen may be plotting something. Cheng Mingqiang thought about it and said, "And that's right." Cheng Zhongfan also nodded and said, "So, it's right for us to draw a clear line with him. We don't have to discuss this anymore. Whether Xiao Chen has the strength or not, can he compete with the Supernatural Investigation Department? Obviously not. This time he definitely can't escape this disaster, so we don't have to think about this anymore. It's better to take care of the Cheng family's own affairs." All right. Old Master Cheng thought about it and agreed. It didn't matter what happened to Xiao Chen. The Supernatural Investigation Department would never let go of Xiao Chen. At this moment, the Shen family also received the news. Shen Jinghao looked for Shen Jingmao with a shocked face. They couldn't contact Shen Jingxian, and they didn't know if Shen Jingxian knew or not. Anyway, they were both very surprised. "Jingmao, did you know that Xiao Chen is White Fox?" Shen Jinghao looked at Shen Jingmao with an inexplicable expression. "I didn't know." Shen Jingmao shook his head. "But what about Big Brother White Fox this time? Can he turn the situation around?" Because Shen Jingxian went to the Heavenly Fox sect, coupled with Shen Hongjian's support for Shen Jingmao, even if something happened to Xiao Chen, Shen Jingmao's status in the Shen family would not be affected. However, he was very worried about Xiao Chen. Who knows? Shen Jinghao frowned. He was wondering why White Fox wanted Jingxian a second-hand good. It turned out that White Fox was Xiao Chen. No wonder White Fox was so good to Shen Jingxian. However, the fact that Xiao Chen was White Fox really surprised him. Xiao Chen was a good-for-nothing, but he suddenly became an all-powerful master. If the Supernatural Investigation Department hadn't announced it, it would be hard for him to believe that the two were the same person. I think Big Brother White Fox should be able to turn the situation around. Shen Jingmao said, "He's so powerful, the Supernatural Investigation Department will definitely not do anything to him." Jingmao, you're thinking too simply. How can you imagine the Supernatural Investigation Department's background? Shen Jinghao's face was solemn. If the Supernatural Investigation Department comes looking for you, don't talk nonsense. Just tell the truth. I know. Shen Jingmao nodded. At the Yu's house, Yu Xiaochuan was so anxious that Tang Tang, Yu Shanshan, and Zhu Yingxiong were a little dizzy. "Brother, can you stop spinning? Can you solve the problem by spinning?" Yu Shanshan said with a blurred vision. "Yeah, Brother Xiaochuan, the boss will be fine. Stop spinning." Zhu Yingxiong also said. Tang Tang lowered her head and pondered, as if she didn't hear what these people said. To be honest, Tang Tang was most worried about Xiao Chen, but she also knew that she couldn't help. She could only silently pray for Xiao Chen. At this moment, Xiao Chen was still sitting in the car. He didn't go anywhere. He knew that the Supernatural Investigation Department was probably looking for him everywhere. He had to break the situation. Although he could kill a master at the martial master level, he wasn't arrogant enough to think that he could go against the Supernatural Investigation Department. He couldn't show up now and he couldn't stop the development of this matter. This made him feel a deep sense of powerlessness. In the past, no matter what kind of predicament he was in, he could calmly deal with it. But now he had no idea how to start. Elder Heaven Ancestor. What should I do? Xiao Chen took a deep breath and asked. You think of me when you have no other way? Elder Heaven Ancestor said faintly, you don't even know to look for me when there's a good thing. You only come when there's a problem. Elder Heaven Ancestor, don't make fun of me. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly, I really have no other way. Actually, the solution is thought of by people. Elder Heaven Ancestor said, now, what's the key point of the whole matter? Have you thought of it? The key point is that I killed Yang Tan. Xiao Qin said, if only Qin Yuhan died, the matter wouldn't be so big. I'm from the Demonic Star sect and he's from the Extreme Ice sect. Even if he wants revenge, he has to fight openly. Yes, this is the key point of the problem. Elder Heaven Ancestor said, as long as this problem is solved, the whole matter will be solved. But Yang Tan is already dead. How can it be solved? Are we going to let him live? Xiao Qin frowned. He couldn't understand what Elder Heaven Ancestor meant. You're right. Let him live. If he's alive, everything will be easy, Elder Heaven Ancestor said calmly. F***ck me. Elder Heaven Ancestor, don't make fun of me. He's alive? Xiao Qin suddenly thought of something and slapped his thigh. Elder Heaven Ancestor, you mean I? Chapter 502. Thought of it? Elder Heaven Ancestor smiled. If Yang Tan is fine, the limelight will pass. Naturally it will be fine. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Qin logged into the Warrior Guild's app and saw Song Huawu's message asking him how was it. Xiao Qin replied directly, where do you live? I have something to do now. I need to go over immediately. Soon, Song Huawu replied to him, do you want to die? Looking for me now? Xiao Qin, tell me the address. It won't be a problem. Trust me. On the other side, Song Huawu hesitated for a while before sending the address. Xiao Qin looked at the address and drove all the way to Song Huawu's residence. However, just as the car stopped in the parking lot downstairs, two men in black in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau uniform pointed their guns at Xiao Qin's car. At this time, the person driving Yang Tan's car should be Xiao Qin without a doubt. However, Xiao Qin opened the door and got out of the car. He looked at the two men and said angrily, you are also from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau? Which department are you from? How dare you point a gun at me? Team Leader Yang? These two men in black were the two who went to the Xiao family in Cheng Menjing's villa. They couldn't find Xiao Qin's headquarters. After reporting that Xiao Qin might have gone abroad, they returned to Xia Shibin's place and planned to discuss it with Xia Shibin. After all, Xia Zhili had said that Xia Shibin was a reliable person. What are you doing here? Xiao Qin's appearance had transformed into Yang Jianan's appearance, and his voice was imitating his voice. Team Leader Yang, are you okay? The leader asked curiously. Didn't I just fall off a cliff? What can happen to me? Fortunately, I was lucky enough to die on a tree branch. Are you here for this? Xiao Qin asked with a strange expression. Yes, Team Leader Yang. We thought you sacrificed yourself, so. The leader said, since there is nothing else, we will go first. We have to report the situation to the higher-ups. Go. Xiao Qin waved his hand and opened the building's security door. Although Xiao Qin didn't have an access card, he directly used his Yuan Qi to open the door. It looked like he was swiping a card to open the door, so the two people didn't suspect anything. They turned around and quickly left. They didn't need to find Xia Shibin, they needed to report the situation to him. When Xia Zhili heard that Yang Jianan didn't die, he was surprised. But when he heard that Yang Jianan was hanging on the tree, he understood that it was a false alarm. He immediately called Yang Jianan's phone, but no one answered. After some thought, he dialed Xia Shibin's number. Xiao Qin arrived at the door of Song Huawu's room and rang the doorbell. Oh. Song Huawu asked from inside. It's me. Xiao Qin said in his original voice. Ka. The security door opened, but when Song Huawu saw the appearance of the person outside, she was shocked. How could this person be Yang Tan? Yang Tan. How come it's you? Song Huawu was so scared that she took 2 steps back. She looked at the person in front of her in disbelief. This person is actually the dead Yang Tan. How did he come back to life and come here? It's me. Xiao Qin smiled and said, how is it? Are you scared? Xiao Qin. Song Huawu was stunned. She was a little surprised. You are actually Xiao Qin? How did you become Yang Tan? Let's go in and talk. Xiao Qin said. Okay. Song Huawu quickly let Xiao Qin into the room and poured him a cup of water. You really dare. How dare you kill Yang Tan? Do you know that this is a big crime? And, if I don't kill him, he will kill me, so I must kill him. Xiao Qin said, he asked me to go to the cliff to kill me. I know. I saw the video. Song Huawu nodded. Then what do you plan to do next? I won't appear as Xiao Qin for the time being. I plan to appear as Yang Tan for a while, said Xiao Qin. Yang Tan? Song Huawu was stunned. She was a little shocked. You want to pretend to be Yang Tan? Yes. Xiao Chen nodded and said, Xiao Chen is wanted. The root cause is actually Yang Tan. As long as Yang Tan is fine, slowly Xiao Chen's wanted order will be lifted. But, won't it be exposed? Song Huawu was a little speechless by Xiao Chen's boldness. Aren't you too bold? Thank goodness. Just as Xiao Chen finished speaking, he heard a burst of laughter coming from outside the anti-theft door, followed by a bang 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 sound of knocking on the door. Who is it? Song Huawu was slightly surprised and asked. Open the door, Song Huawu. Xiao Chen stopped pretending. Xia Shibin's voice came from the door. Song Huawu's face suddenly became a little ugly. Why is Xia Shibin here? However, she and Xiao Chen didn't speak loudly before. It was impossible to reach the door. Even if Xia Shibin stood at the door, he couldn't hear it. However, Song Huawu still opened the door. It would be worse if she didn't let him in. Maybe Xia Shibin would directly inform the Supernatural Investigation Bureau to arrest her. It was better to let him in to talk. Maybe there would be an unexpected turn of events. The door opened and sure enough it was Xia Shibin. He was looking at Song Huawu and the Yang Tan, in the room with a smirk on his face. He laughed and said, Xiao Chen, you still want to pretend to be team leader Yang? Dream on. When you pretended to be team leader Yang and went to the private room to snatch people, I knew you would do this. Xiao Chen's face was also a little ugly. He didn't understand how Xia Shibin recognized him, but he still pretended to say, Xia Shibin, what nonsense are you talking about? I'm your Yang Tan brother Yang. Don't talk nonsense. Sit down, ha, don't pretend. Xiao Chen, do you think I don't know? Xia Shibin looked at Xiao Chen in ridicule and said, You haven't even changed your clothes. Do you think I don't know you? Besides, it's useless to pretend. You still don't know, right? You don't know how I found you, right? Didn't the two people downstairs tell you? Xiao Chen was slightly surprised. They told me, but they told me that team leader Yang came back. They didn't tell me that you are Xiao Chen, said Xia Shibin. Then how did you know? Xiao Chen frowned. Song Huawu, maybe you don't know yet, right? The mobile phones that our Supernatural Investigation Bureau staff are equipped with have a close-range monitoring function. Even if your mobile phone is offline, not connected to the internet or even turned off, we can monitor through the mobile phones in the nearby bureau. Xia Shibin said, It's just that usually, every mobile phone has a corresponding authorization password. This password is only controlled by the headquarters. We don't know it. However, the headquarters told me your monitoring code. I have been monitoring you. Sure enough, I found out the secret. Ah. Xiao Chen looked at Xia Shibin and was a little speechless. This guy really has the potential to be a spy. All kinds of secretly recording and monitoring are out of control. It's impossible to guard against. It seems that Song Huawu doesn't know about this. Song Huawu's expression was a little dark. She deliberately turned off her mobile phone. She didn't expect that the close-range monitoring function was so awesome. It could actually be turned off and monitored. Xia Shibin, since you recognized me, then it's nothing. Sit down and talk. Xiao Chen pointed to the sofa over there and said, Looking at your appearance, you haven't reported it yet, right? You came to me for some other purpose, right? Yes, Xiao Chen. You teach me the secret of transforming into other people's appearance and I can let you go. Xia Shibin said, How about it? As long as you tell me, I can act as if nothing happened and I haven't seen you. I will let you go. Of course, if you can't escape and get caught again, then don't blame me. I knew it. Xiao Chen smiled faintly after listening. I can't teach you this. Your physique isn't good enough. You can't practice our Devil Gates mind technique. It's useless to teach you. That means there's nothing to talk about? Xia Shibin's expression changed and he said with some malevolence, You better think it through. If you don't cooperate, I'll tell the Supernatural Investigation Bureau that you're here and let them catch you. At that time you won't be able to return. I say, Xia Shibin, what benefits do you get from doing this? Do you think that you can be valued by doing this? Xiao Chen asked faintly, Do you think that you can be valued by jumping up and down like this? Is it your turn to be the team leader of Team C? I think the biggest possibility is still Song Huawu, right? Don't talk about this. If she is the team leader, I can also be the deputy team leader. Xia Shibin said, Have you thought about it? Xia Shibin, why don't I let you listen to a recording? Xiao Chen took out his mobile phone and clicked on a recording. I recorded what you said to me just now. Don't you want to listen? If this is heard by the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, you won't have a good time. From Xiao Chen's mobile phone, the words that Xia Shibin had just said to him came out. including Xia Shibin saying that as long as Xiao Chen said the secret of changing his face, he would let go of Xiao Chen. Are very good. Xia Shibin's face changed again and again. I learned it from you. Xiao Chen smiled. But so what? I can tell the Supernatural Investigation Bureau that I lied to you by asking you to tell the secret. Let's see if someone believes me or you at that time. Xia Shibin immediately thought of an excuse. Oh, okay, then I will let you listen to another recording. As Xiao Chen said this, he clicked on another recording. It was the recording that Lu Jinming had recorded before. Xia Shibin used his identity to threaten Lu Jinming. Xia Shibin was stunned. How do you have this? What do you mean? I don't mean anything. You say, if I spread this recording, will the Supernatural Investigation Bureau still protect you? Xiao Chen said indifferently, it doesn't matter if you have someone to protect you. This matter? Chapter 503. You. Xia Shibin didn't expect Xiao Chen to bring up this matter. He was a little exasperated. Xiao Chen, how dare you? Why wouldn't I dare? Xiao Chen said indifferently, you can quibble about the previous recording. What about this? Xia Shibin took a few deep breaths. He didn't expect that Xiao Chen actually kept this trump card. Indeed, it would be a big scandal if this matter was spread out. Although he helped Yang Tan was already dead. He and Xia Zhili weren't on good terms to the point where Xia Zhili would spare no effort to protect him. At that time he was afraid that the fate waiting for him would be to be fired. After thinking about it and weighing the pros and cons, Xia Shibin finally said, Xiao Chen, tell me, what do you want? It's very simple. I will be Yang Tan in the future and you will still follow me. Yang Jianan is the evil leader and you are just a follower. So, I don't plan to do anything. As long as you admit my identity as Yang Tan, then you will still be my underling. Xiao Chen said, having me to protect you is better than having an illusory backer, right? This. Xia Shibin was silent. What Xiao Chen said was indeed attractive enough. Yang Tan was dead and he lost his backer in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. It was hard to say whether Xia Zhili would accept him. After all, he was only a low-level figure in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. He was just an ordinary member of Team C. It was almost impossible for him to be as successful as he was now. Moreover, the most important thing was that he and Yang Tan were very close in the beginning, and he had offended a lot of people. Those disobedient members were secretly targeted by Xia Shibin. Now that Yang Tan was dead, if he didn't get promoted, it would be difficult for him to move forward. It was hard to say whether he could continue to be a part of it. Therefore, Xia Shibin really listened to Xiao Chen's suggestion. His heart was constantly struggling. He wanted to make a reasonable choice. After all, this matter was very important. He had to be careful. After 10 minutes, but in Xia Shibin's eyes, it was a long time. He raised his head and said, Okay, Xiao Chen, I promise you, but you have to protect me like when Yang Tan was here. And I want to follow you like before. No problem. Our relationship is indispensable. I want you to help me cover so your identity and status will not change. You used to be by Yang Tan's side, but now you can be by my side. However, at this point Xiao Chen paused for a moment and said, as long as you're obedient, I won't do anything to you. However, you don't have to think of using this matter to threaten me and ride roughshod over me. If you do, I'll kill you. You also know that my temper isn't very good. I like to kill people. Whoever I don't like, I'll kill them. Once I gain a firm foothold, I'll kill you without anyone knowing. That's an easy thing to do. Xia Shibin shivered. Indeed, what he thought before was that he wanted to obtain power and benefits through Xiao Chen. At that time, even if Xiao Chen was the leader of Team C, he knew his identity. If he did something out of line, he believed that Xiao Chen would turn a blind eye to it. Even his real status and authority would be similar to that of the leader of Team C. But now it seemed that his imagination was too simple. Xiao Chen would not allow him to do this. And Xiao Chen said it very clearly. If he dared to do this, he would kill him. Xia Shibin didn't think that this was a threat. In his opinion, Xiao Chen dared to do this and it was 100% daring. Since Xiao Chen said it, it proved that as long as Xia Shibin was obedient, Xiao Chen would not kill him. Otherwise, if Xiao Chen really wanted to kill him, Xiao Chen wouldn't say it in advance. Xiao Chen would pretend to be courteous to Xia Shibin first, and then wait for the opportunity to kill him. I understand. Brother Xiao, don't worry. You are my boss in the future. I will listen to you. Xia Shibin also made a decision decisively. Sister Hua Wu, you have to protect me in the future. You can't always make things difficult for me behind my back like before. If you cooperate with Xiao Chen, I won't trouble you. Song Hua Wu said. In the past she had indeed secretly opposed Xia Shibin. She was probably the only one in Team C who dared to oppose Xia Shibin. Okay, no problem. Xia Shibin nodded again and again. Oh yeah, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia just called me and asked me to confirm if Brother Yang is really fine. Brother Yang, what do you think? And I will give him a call back. Xiaoqin thought about it. He was already back. It wasn't right to let Xia Shibin reply, so he said, you tell me roughly how Yang Tan usually talks to this Deputy Bureau Chief Xia. How is their relationship? Okay, I will tell you. Xia Shibin said quickly. Deputy Bureau Chief Xia's real name is Xia Zhili. Xia Shibin didn't hide anything. He was counting on working with Xiaoqin in the future. If Xiaoqin was fine, then he would be fine. So he naturally hoped that Xiaoqin could muddle through. However, Xiaoqin listened to Xia Shibin's words and knew that although Yang Tan often secretly gave benefits to Xia Zhili, in fact, it was still the kind of relationship between a superior and a subordinate. There wasn't a deep relationship. It could only be said to be a relationship of benefits. That was easy. This Xia Zhili didn't know Yang Tan very well. He could completely disguise himself. He used Xia Shibin's mobile phone to call Xia Zhili. Xia Shibin, how is it? Did Yang Jianan go back? Xia Zhili's voice came from the phone. Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, it's me, Yang Jianan. I'm back, said Xiaoqin. Oh, Jianan, you're back? Why didn't your previous mobile phone work? Asked Xia Zhili. The mobile phone fell to the bottom of the cliff. As Xiaoqin said this, he didn't expect Xia Zhili to actually open a video call request. Xiaoqin hesitated and didn't dare to open it. He pretended not to see it and continued, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, let me tell you that I'm safe. I'm covered in blood now. I want to take a shower. I will visit you tomorrow morning. That's fine. You can come tomorrow. Xia Zhili actually wanted to confirm if the other party was Yang Tan, but after listening to him, he didn't force it. Instead, he said, then you give the phone to Xia Shibin. Okay, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia. As Xiaoqin said this, he gave the phone to Xia Shibin. Xia Shibin, is Yang Jianan really back? Asked Xia Zhili. And Team Leader Yang is back. It's really scary but not dangerous. Xia Shibin said, Deputy Team Leader Song is also next to us. We just discussed it. Do you think that the arrest warrant for Xiaoqin can be cancelled? After all, Team Leader Yang is fine. It's not good to keep the arrest warrant, right? You don't have to worry about this. I'll handle it. Xia Zhili said, we'll talk about it when you come tomorrow. After that, Xia Zhili hung up the phone. Xiaoqin was secretly shocked, but Xia Shibin was puzzled. Brother Yang, it's good that you picked up the video call just now. Deputy Bureau Chief Xia can confirm that you're back. You didn't pick it up. I can't pick it up. My current appearance is only effective for human eyes. It's ineffective for those technological devices. Xiaoqin said, so you should try to help me cover up in the future. Don't let people record me and don't let people take photos of me. Otherwise it will be exposed. It turns out to be like this. Xia Shibin was stunned. He was a little surprised. So, in the video in the nightclub, Brother Yang, you actually changed your appearance, but the surveillance video didn't record it successfully, right? It should be. Xiaoqin nodded. So let's get ready. We'll go back to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau together tomorrow. I must meet Xia Zhili or else he will always be suspicious. Okay, then we'll go back early tomorrow morning. Xia Shibin said, Brother Yang, are you staying at Sister Huawu's place? I'll go upstairs? Xiaoqin nodded. Staying at Song Huawu's place was the best choice. It was more convenient. Although Xia Shibin came over, he had no choice. It was a mutually beneficial relationship. Xiaoqin didn't want him to know too much about himself. Song Huawu's face was slightly red, but she didn't object. After all, it was the most convenient for Xiaoqin to live here. Moreover, she also knew that Xiaoqin probably wouldn't have any improper thoughts about her. Xia Shibin left and only Song Huawu was left in the room. Xiaoqin fell on the sofa. He was a little tired. I'll sleep here tonight. It won't bother you, right? Song Huawu shook her head. Actually, there are 2 rooms here. There is a small bed in that room. You can sleep there. You don't have to sleep in the living room. So nice. Xiaoqin wasn't polite. He nodded and followed the direction Song Huawu pointed and entered the room. After hesitating for a while, Xiaoqin sent a group message to eldest Miss, Jin Beibei, Tang Tang, Yi Xiaoye and Xin Jingxian. There were only 3 words, I'm fine. He didn't know whether Xin Jingxian could receive it or not. Mobile phones might not be allowed in her sect. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen replied to Xiao Zhao's mysterious mailbox. I'm fine. If you see me one day, don't be surprised if I'm not called Xiao Chen or White Fox. Cheng Minjing and the others received Xiao Chen's message and were relieved. Eldest Miss went upstairs with Jean Beibei in silence. She felt a little uncomfortable without Xiao Chen at home all of a sudden. In the past, although she always asked Xiao Chen to do this and that as if she was dissatisfied with Xiao Chen, she was actually quite satisfied with Xiao Chen. Unexpectedly, the feeling she had at that moment came true. Xiao Chen had really left. Cheng Minjing felt empty in her heart as if she had lost something. When Xiao Chen transferred to another school, she didn't have such a feeling. But now, she began to miss him and get used to the days when he was with her. Cousin Minjing, don't worry. My cousin-in-law is so powerful. You will be fine. Yang Tan is an expert in the first level of martial master. Even he was killed by my cousin-in-law easily. Jean Beibei comforted her. Who's worried about him? Cheng Minjing, however, snorted. He only knows how to make trouble every day. Why did he provoke Yang Tan? If he sat at the same table with me at school, how could he have provoked Yang Tan? He became enemies with Yang Tan because he fell in love with Song Huawu. I'm afraid that he will get the Cheng family into trouble. That bastard. Chapter 504. Jean Beibei looked at Cheng Minjing, who said one thing but meant another. She patted her forehead and said, All right, we'll make an announcement in the warrior guild tomorrow. We'll say that Xiao Chen has nothing to do with us. That's not necessary. We have to spend points. No way. Cheng Minjing said hurriedly, because it's not worth it for him to spend points. Fine. Jean Beibei shrugged. I wonder where my cousin-in-law is. He can go wherever he wants. Cheng Minjing was quite unhappy. Why didn't you tell me earlier that you were so powerful? If you had told me earlier, the Cheng family would not have broken off the engagement, right? You obviously like Xinjing Xian and don't like me. You can't wait to break off the engagement, can't you? You flirt with Song Huo. You are dumbfounded now, aren't you? You are a wanted man now, aren't you? You deserve it. Cheng Minjing cursed while praying that Xiao Chen would not be caught. As for Yi Xiaoye, she called her master as soon as she returned to her room. As for Yi Xiaoye, she called her master, Qi Xiangmei, as soon as she returned to her room. Xiaoye, I was going to call you even if you didn't call me. White Fox is Xiao Chen. Why didn't you tell me before? Qi Xiangmei asked. I just found out. Before Yi Xiaoye could tell her, Xiao Chen was in trouble. Alright, the people from the Extreme Eye sect might look for you to understand the situation. However, you don't have to be afraid of them. Don't betray Xiao Chen either. I will back you up. Qi Xiangmei was very determined when she said this. However, Yi Xiaoye was not surprised at all. She said, I understand. I won't betray him. Instead, I will try my best to help him. That's good. I won't tell you more. I believe you know what to do, Qi Xiangmei reminded her. Yes, I know what to do, Yi Xiaoye replied. Xiao Chen lay on the strange bed and could not fall asleep for a long time. The facilities in the room were simple, just like in a hotel. However, Xiao Chen was not at ease. When he was chased out of the Xiao family, he had a brief moment of confusion. It was the elder heaven ancestor who had rekindled his hope in life. Now he had the same feeling again. Xiao Chen did not know where he should go in the future. The identity of Yang Tan might bring him some convenience, but it would also bring him some troubles. The flaw of the illusion caused Xiao Chen to have to be extremely careful in the future. Otherwise, it was very likely that Xiao Chen's previous efforts would all go to waste. After cultivating for an entire night, Xiao Chen subconsciously wanted to cook when he woke up in the morning. However, when he opened his eyes, he realized that he was no longer in the villa, and there was no need for him to cook. When he woke up in the morning, he subconsciously wanted to cook. However, when he opened his eyes, he found that he was no longer in the villa, so there was no need to cook. Looking at the sky outside, Xiao Chen planned to get up and go to the bathroom. However, when he came out of the room, he saw Song Huawu busy in the kitchen. When she saw Xiao Chen come out, she was a little surprised. Xiao Chen, why are you up so early? Yes, of course. Song Huawu said, I don't like to eat outside, so I cook by myself every day. I brought you some today. Try my cooking. Okay. Xiao Chen did not expect Song Huawu to be such a virtuous girl. She even knew how to cook. These days there were not many girls who could cook. Moreover, she took the initiative to bring him a portion. It was hard for Xiao Chen to imagine that she had such a gentle side. Soon Song Huawu served breakfast. It was fried eggs and purple potato porridge. Although the eggs were fried, they looked good. Xiao Chen could not wait to take a bite. He did not eat last night. How is it? Asked Song Huawu. Not bad. I'll make it for you tomorrow, said Xiao Qin. Huh? Are you for real? You'll make it for me? Song Huawu was a little surprised. Do you know how to cook? Xiao Qin was a little speechless. I started out selling fried dough sticks. Didn't you investigate me? I thought you were here to do hard labor. Song Huawu smiled embarrassedly. Okay, then I'll wait and see. Hurry up and eat. After eating, we'll go to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau's Northern Branch. Deputy Bureau Chief Xia is the person in charge there. Okay. Xiao Qin nodded and quickly finished the porridge and fried eggs in front of him. Song Huawu did not expect him to eat so much, but fortunately she made more. There was still some left in the pot. Xiao Qin finished them all. After Xia Shibin finished his breakfast downstairs, he came to find Xiao Qin and Song Huawu. He knocked on the door. At this time Xiao Qin and Song Huawu were already dressed. The three of them went to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau's Northern Branch together. Xia Zhili was one of the elders of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Back then he had relied on his profound martial cultivation strength to join. This person was good at currying favor, and he had climbed to his current position step by step. Currently he was one of the most authoritative figures in the Northern Branch. Xiao Qin came to the Northern Branch with Song Huawu and Xia Shibin. The people at the door knew Yang Jianan and the others, so they did not stop them and let them in smoothly. Xiao Qin tried his best to avoid the direction of the surveillance cameras. Of course, it did not matter even if he was recorded because nothing special happened. The Supernatural Investigation Bureau would not check the surveillance cameras for no reason. Under Song Huawu's hint, they came to the door of Xia Zhili's office with ease. They knocked on the door and a deep voice came from inside. Who is it? Come in. Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, it's me, Yang Jianan. Xiao Qin pushed the door open with a smile, followed by Song Huawu and Xia Shibin. And it's Jianan. You're really fine. It's good that you're fine. When Xia Zhili saw Yang Tan, he breathed a sigh of relief and said, Don't be so reckless next time. He's just an insignificant person. Is there a need to recover so quickly? Insignificant person, my ass. Old man, I'll kick you to death sooner or later. On the surface, Xiao Qin looked like he had learned a lesson. He nodded and said, Sai, it's also because I was impulsive. Isn't it because Qin Yuhan from the Extreme Ice sect begged me? I couldn't refuse, so I agreed. I was thinking that there's no harm in our Supernatural Investigation Bureau roping in more sections. When Deputy Bureau Chief Xia's ranking moves up, I can also be transferred to Team B to manage these sects. And you're considerate. Xia Zhili nodded and said, But in the future, you have to discuss it with me. I understand, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia. Don't worry, I know what to do. Xiao Qin quickly said. By the way, I heard from Huawu that there's an ancient ruin near Songning City? Xia Zhili changed the topic and asked. Xiao Qin didn't answer. Even if he knew, he still turned his gaze to Song Huawu. Yes, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia. There's indeed an ancient ruin, but I'm not sure of its exact location. I'm still following up on this matter. Song Huawu said. And Jianan, when the time comes, you should follow and see if there's anything good. Xia Zhili glanced at Xiao Qin and hinted. Okay, if there's something good, I'll bring it back for you. Xiao Qin quickly nodded. Xia Zhili was very satisfied and continued, Jianan, you and Huawu have been working together for some time now, right? I'm actually very optimistic about the two of you being together. After all, the nature of our Supernatural Investigation Bureau's work is special. It's not easy to find partners outside the circle. So, Huawu, you can consider it. Yang Jianan had become Xiao Qin. Song Huawu naturally wouldn't be as resistant as before, but she still acted calmly. A hint of disgust flashed in her eyes and then she said, Okay, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, I understand. Okay, then you guys go. Call me if there's anything. Xia Zhili didn't say much. He just casually helped Yang Jianan. Whether it succeeded or not was another matter. On the surface, as a superior, he was very concerned about his subordinates. By the way, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, can we cancel the arrest warrant for Xiao Qin? Before Xiao Qin left, he asked, Isn't it a bit too much to issue a warrant for an ordinary family's young master? You don't have to worry about this. Since I've already issued a warrant, if I cancel it now, wouldn't it mean that I've done something wrong? However, Xia Zhili waved his hand and said, You don't have to worry about this. If he's wrong, then he's wrong. He's just a nobody. Who cares about him? Old B*****, I really want to slap you to death. Xiao Qin was so angry that he gritted his teeth. However, he could only let it be for now. He would look for opportunities in the future. He nodded and said, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, then I'll leave first. When the time comes, I'll see if there's anything good in the ancient ruins for you. Okay. Xia Zhili nodded non-committally. Xiaoqin returned to Songning City with Song Huawu and Xia Shibin and went to school. This time, Xiaoqin swaggered to the seat of Xiaoqin. Anyway, Xiaoqin had run away and he, Yang Tan, was back. Naturally, he would sit in this seat. Seeing that Yang Tan was not dead and had come to school, Cheng Minjing and Jin Beibei were instantly shocked. What the F***ck, Yang Tan is not dead? Jin Beibei's eyes widened. Wasn't he killed by my cousin-in-law? Who knows? Cheng Minjing was a little puzzled too. The news that Yang Tan was not dead had not spread out. They only learned about it today. If Yang Tan is not dead, why is my cousin-in-law still wanted? I'll go and ask him. Jin Beibei was a little angry. She stood up and rushed to Yang Tan. Hey Yang Tan, Jin Beibei came to Xiaoqin and stared at him with her hands on her waist. Where's my cousin-in-law? Who knows where your cousin-in-law is? Seeing that Jin Beibei was so concerned about him, Xiaoqin was touched. However, he still pretended to be Yang Tan and sneered. You lost your cousin-in-law and came to me? You didn't have an affair with him, did you? What does it have to do with you? You envy him, don't you? Jin Beibei snorted. Since you are not dead, why are you still wanted for my cousin-in-law? Cancel the wanted order and let him come back. I'm sorry. The wanted order is because he killed Qin Yuhan of the Extreme Ice sect. It has nothing to do with me, Xiaoqin said. Unless the Extreme Ice sect stops pursuing it, there's nothing I can do. Humph. Jin Beibei was so angry that she kicked Xiaoqin's foot. Chapter 505. Ouch. Xiaoqin was not prepared. He screamed in pain, how could you be so cruel? Ha. Jin Beibei looked at Xiaoqin's shoes in a daze. Then she looked at Xiaoqin's face and reached out to touch it. Hey, what are you doing? Xiaoqin was shocked. He thought that Jin Beibei was going to scratch him. To his surprise, Jin Beibei just touched his face and then let go. She turned around and left without saying anything, which puzzled Xiaoqin. After Jin Beibei left, Cheng Minjing asked, What were you doing just now? Why did you touch Yang Tan? Nothing. I just asked him when he would cancel the arrest warrant for my cousin-in-law, said Jin Beibei. And? Asked Cheng Minjing in a hurry. Cousin Minjing, are you worried about him? Asked Jin Beibei with a smile. Who's worried about him? I just feel that he is a bit unlucky. Yang Tan is not dead and he is still wanted, said Cheng Minjing. Forget it. Maybe Yang Tan is really dead, right? It's fine as long as my cousin-in-law is fine. Jin Beibei said, Don't worry. I told you that my cousin-in-law is a transformer. He might have already transformed into someone else. It's impossible to catch him. Oh. Cheng Minjing did not understand what Jin Beibei said. However, it was the greatest comfort that Xiaoqin was fine now. After Jin Beibei left, Xiaoqin was deep in thought. Earlier, when he pretended to be a white fox, Jin Beibei seemed to have already noticed the loophole. Judging from Jin Beibei's behavior just now, she seemed to have noticed something again. Xiaoqin had been careful enough to change his clothes to Yang Tan's. The only thing he could not change was his shoes. Yang Tan's shoes were too small for him to wear. It was different from clothes. Clothes could be worn through clothes because they were about the same height. However, shoes were too small. It was not like he could cut off a piece of his foot before wearing it, right? He recalled that Jin Beibei had glanced at his shoes just now. Could it be that she had noticed something from his shoes? Thinking about it, it wasn't impossible. This chick's observation skills were very meticulous. Maybe she really saw something. However, Xiaoqin was not worried that Jin Beibei had seen through him. At least, judging from Jin Beibei's previous reaction, she did not say anything. Therefore, Xiaoqin was not worried that she would talk nonsense. Why was Jin Beibei acting so weird just now? Song Huawu asked. She seems to have noticed something wrong, Xiaoqin said. She is more observant. Song Huawu nodded and did not say anything else. Jing Xiaoquan also heard something. He turned around and saw Yang Tan sitting beside Song Huawu. He wanted to say something several times but stopped. He wanted to ask about Xiaoqian's situation. It did not occur to him that Xiaoqian was actually White Fox. It shocked him very much. At the same time, he was surprised by Tang Tang's insight. Xiaoqian was not a useless child but a strong child. Jing Xiaoquan had always regarded him as a good-for-nothing. It turned out that he was his boss, White Fox. As for Lu Jinming, he turned to White Fox. Although his original purpose was not pure, he was scared when he heard that White Fox was Xiao Qin. Gosh, why didn't I get killed before? Is this White Fox so awesome? But isn't Yang Tan dead? Why does he appear again? Lu Jinming was a little confused. Skinny Monkey said, Master Ming, this Yang Tan is so awesome. How did he come back to life? I don't know. Don't act rashly. Even Boss Xiao Qin is no match for him. Let's not add to the trouble. Just monitor him secretly and see what he is going to do. Lu Jinming said. Skinny Monkey nodded repeatedly. He also knew that this was not something he could participate in. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Xiao Qin still went to school every day, but he was using Yang Tan's identity. He could not talk to Qing Minjing, Jin Beibei, Zheng Xiaoquan, and Lu Jinming. He could not even contact the Xiao family. He could only take it one step at a time. At the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, Xia Zhili's arrest warrant had not been cancelled. It was said that the people from the Extreme Eye sect had also gone to see Xia Zhili. Although he did not know what they talked about, judging from the fact that the arrest warrant had not been cancelled, the Extreme Eye sect was probably up to no good. As for Xiao Qin, he had gradually adapted to his identity as Yang Tan. As usual, he took Song Huawu's car and returned to home. Once Song Huawu got home, she slumped on the sofa lazily. Hey Yang Tan, go and cook for me. Didn't we agree to have 1 day each? It's your turn today. Xiao Qin said. I'm tired today. It's still you? Song Huawu said lazily. If you don't go, I will tell Xia Zhili that you are Xiao Qin. Okay. Xiao Qin shook his head. Anyway, he was doing this all day in the Missy's villa. Now that Song Huawu could help him hide it, it was already a great help to him. Xiao Qin would not care about these small details. However, when Xiao Qin was cooking, he found that Song Huawu was not resting. Instead, she took the tablet and was studying something with someone. After a while, the food was served on the table. Song Huawu put down the tablet and sniffed. Yang Tan, you really have the potential to be a family man. No wonder Qing Minjing asked you to be a servant. That's my fiancé. What are you to me? Xiao Qin was a little depressed. Didn't Xia Zhili ask me to be your fiancé? Song Huawu said confidently, have you forgotten? Your identity is Yang Tan now. You should please me. I'm now living with you reluctantly. Whether we can go further depends on your performance. That's Yang Tan, okay. Xiao Qin laughed dryly. In order to act more like it, you should imitate Yang Tan in all aspects. Song Huawu said seriously. Well, I give up. Xiao Qin was speechless. Right, there is news about the ancient ruins. This time there may be several groups of people eyeing the ancient ruins. At that time, we will represent the Supernatural Investigation Bureau to get a share of the loot, said Song Huo. You can go, but I still have to represent Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin said, you and Xia Shibin can go. Well, that's fine too. Then I will tell Xia Zhili that you will stay in Songning. I will go with Xia Shibin. Song Huawu thought about it and said, at that time, we will report that Xiao Qin appeared in the ancient tomb. No need. I will transform into another appearance and I won't be called Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin waved his hand. He didn't want his whereabouts to be exposed. He could transform into Yang Tan, so naturally he could transform into other people. At that time he just needed to change it a little. That's fine too. Song Huawu nodded. Are you going with one of the groups? Isn't it just a group of people? Why are there several groups of people? Xiao Qin asked curiously. According to the information I have, this ancient ruin has been targeted by several groups of people. I don't know who spread the news, but think about it. If I can find out about it, then the others naturally have the corresponding channels, Song Huawu said. I see. Xiao Qin thought about it and used the Warrior Guild's client to contact Shin Hongjian and Clayton online. When are you going to the ancient ruins? I heard that we're not the only ones going? Soon Clayton's message came back. You're okay? That's great. There's a condition for the ancient ruins to open. It must be on a moonless night. According to the observation of the stars, it should be on the 15th of this month. I originally wanted to inform you before, but you can also prepare now. As for the people going, it's just us. Is there anyone else? Yes, as far as I know, people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau will also go, and there will be others, replied Xiao Qin. What? People from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau are going too? There are others? Oh no, it seems that the news has been leaked. However, if the people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau are going, do you still dare to go? Asked Clayton. I will pretend to be someone else. You'll know when we meet. Xiao Qin said, Don't worry about me. You should worry about the others. I'll ask around, said Clayton. Back mountain of Immortal Resort. This was a perilous peak that had not been developed. Other than a dangerous road that led halfway up the mountain, there were strange rocks and dense forests everywhere. At night, the shadows of the trees were very eerie. Today was the 15th of this month, the moonless night. Xiao Chen was the first to arrive, while Song Huawu and Xia Shibin would be the last to appear. The people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau were always the main characters no matter where they were. They naturally had to wait for the other groups to appear before appearing, but Xiao Chen wanted to meet up with Clayton first. Until now, Clayton had not figured out if there were others coming. His information channels were also limited. However, thinking about it, even Song Huawu did not know the specifics and had only heard about it. It was reasonable that Clayton did not know. As Xiao Chen had been here once, he was familiar with the route this time. Soon he reached the top of the mountain. At the top of the mountain, Xiao Chen saw Clayton. At this moment, Xiao Chen had already changed his appearance. He no longer looked like Xiao Chen from before, nor did he look like Yang Tan. Instead, he looked like an ordinary young master with no special characteristics. The reason for this was that Xiao Chen did not want others to remember his appearance. He wanted to keep a low profile. Who is it? There was already a man and a woman standing beside Clayton. Seeing Xiao Chen's sudden arrival, the man beside Clayton shouted first. Clayton looked at Xiao Chen and was also stunned. Then he revealed his half-step martial master strength, ready to fight at any time. Clayton, how have you been since we last met in Lan City? Xiao Chen laughed. Although his voice had changed, he believed that Clayton would know who he was. Indeed, Clayton was only slightly stunned. Then he also laughed. So it's young hero Xiao. The night was too dark so I couldn't see clearly. Chapter 506. Young hero Xiao? Xiao Chen was a little depressed. Didn't I tell you not to use Xiao Chen's identity? You're still young hero Xiao, you're really... Clayton was a little embarrassed when he called out young hero Xiao. He had just said it casually, but he suddenly remembered that Xiao Chen was wanted and had to change his identity. However, since he had already said it, there was no way he could take it back. Xiao Chen looked at him and knew that he didn't mean it, so he didn't say anything more. He quickly walked in front of the three people, cupped his fists and said, "Greetings everyone. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm another friend of Clayton's. My name is Xiao Chang." Xiao Chen gave himself a name. Since his surname was Xiao and couldn't be changed, he didn't change it. Chang was Xiao Chen's mother's surname. It was a very rare ancient surname. When he was young, Xiao Chen only heard that his mother wasn't an ordinary woman, but he didn't know what was so special about her. He only knew that his mother's surname was Chang. According to legend, the Chang family was the descendant of the ancient Yan Emperor or the Yellow Emperor. It was very rare to find such a family. Xiao Chen always felt that his mother was definitely not a simple person, but he didn't know where she went. "Oh, so it's young hero Xiao Chang. Nice to meet you." The man said, "Nice to meet you," but his eyes didn't look happy at all. It was obvious that he didn't think much of Xiao Chen. Next to him was a woman in her 40s. She looked at Xiao Chen and nodded. "Since everyone is here, Clayton, can we set off?" "There's no rush. Let me introduce you guys first." Clayton knew that he had to introduce Xiao Chen's strength so that these two would behave themselves. Otherwise they would definitely look down on Xiao Chen. "All right." The man nodded. "This is young hero Xiao Chang. He is a demonic cultivator at the peak of stage 10 inner force. His strength is similar to mine," Clayton said slowly. Originally, the man was a little dissatisfied with the introduction of Xiao Chen first. However, after hearing Clayton describe Xiao Chen's strength, he immediately shut up. However, he didn't quite believe it. Looking at Xiao Chen's appearance, how could a young man have such a powerful cultivation? As for the woman, her eyes lit up when she saw Xiao Chen. She cupped her fists and said, "Qin Xinyang greets young hero Xiao Chang." These two are Ma Mingquang and Qin Xinyang. Hero Ma is a stage 9 inner force martial artist, and Qin Xinyang is a stage 8 inner force martial artist. However, Qin Xinyang is an expert in the 5 elements, 8 trigrams Qimenduanjia, and is very good at breaking mechanisms. Clayton introduced. "Greetings, brother Ma, sister Qin." Xiao Chen cupped his fists and said, "All right, let's go to the entrance of the ancient ruins and prepare to activate the mechanism," Clayton said. Xiao Chen and the other two nodded and followed Clayton into the depths of the mountain. The path in the forest was very difficult to walk, and it was very easy to get lost. Clayton led the way in front, and it was obvious that he had been here many times. Finally they arrived near a mountain rock. However, there was nothing strange about this place. Just as everyone was wondering what was going on, Clayton stepped forward and used his hand to sweep the surface of the rock a few times. He removed all the tree vines on it, and then revealed a faintly discernible stone door. It turned out that this stone door was hidden behind the tree vines. If one did not deliberately look for it, even if someone passed by this place, they would not be able to find it, let alone using a satellite map. Because the cave was vertical and hidden, it was no wonder that no one had discovered it for so long. It's here. Everyone get ready. Once the time is up, we will attack this stone door with all our might, according to what I said to open it. Clayton said. Attack the stone door? I can break this stupid stone door by myself. Why do we need to wait for the moonless hour? Ma Mingquang said arrogantly as he looked at the stone door. If you can do it, then do it. What's the point of all this nonsense? Xiaoqun was a little displeased with this person. He had no ability, but his words and actions were very forceful. He did not know what Clayton was thinking by bringing him here. Ma Mingquang was also displeased with Xiaoqun, so when he heard Xiaoqun's words he immediately said, Aya, F***ck if I open it, then everything inside will belong to me, right? I can't guarantee anything for others, but I'll give my share to you. Xiaoqun said coldly. Alright. After hearing this, Ma Mingquang saw that Clayton did not interrupt, so he immediately used the mantra and unleashed the full power of the 9th level of his inner force. He struck the stone door with a breaking monument palm. He was an expert in palm techniques and his attack power was very high. The strike could even break a city gate, let alone a stone door. Boom. An earth-shattering sound rang out, and Ma Yuquang was sent flying. He landed heavily on the ground nearby and spat out a mouthful of blood. After a while, he crawled up and cursed, Mother****, there's something strange about this stone door, it can rebound. Stupid bird. Xiaoqun glanced at him. If it could be broken so easily, then Clayton would have done it himself. Why would he need to gather people? He was simply brainless. This stone door, don't be fooled by its ordinary appearance. In fact, it contains a very mysterious formation. It should have been set up by an ancient powerhouse. We don't know anything about formations, so we can only break it by force. However, to do so, we must find the moment when the formation is at its weakest. This formation relies on the essence of the sun and the moon to replenish its energy. It is rare when there is no sun, but it can be found when there is no moon. Therefore, we must break it when it is at its weakest. Clayton finally opened his mouth to speak. Clearly he did not like the Maha Or, so he purposely played a prank on him. But if you randomly hit it, you will be rebounded by the formation and end up like this. F***ck, so that's how it is. Ma Mingquang was a little exasperated, but there was nothing he could do. He had lost a lot of face, so he stood aside gloomily. This stupid formation is really annoying. Ha, there is indeed a secret behind it. It seems that we were right to wait. Just as the four of them were thinking about the formation, a laugh rang out. Xiaoqun looked up and saw 3 people galloping toward them. There were 2 men and 1 woman. One of the men was old, while the other was young. They looked similar and did not hide their strength. The older one was a level 1 martial master, while the younger one was a level 8 inner force expert. As for the female cultivator, she was a middle-aged woman. She had taken good care of herself and was a level 10 inner force expert. If Xiaoqun's guess was right, these 3 people should be a family of 3. Fellow martial artists, are you also here for the ancient ruins? Clayton's expression was a little ugly. He did not expect the opponent's strength to be so strong. They were already at the level of a martial master, while he was only a half-step martial master. If they really fought, he and Xiaoqun could barely suppress them. However, the woman was a stage 10 inner force user. Ma Mingquang and Qin Xinyang were no match for them. That's right. When we enter the ancient ruins, how about we split the treasures 20-80? The man looked at Xiaoqun and said, You get 20 and we get 80? Ma Mingquang was a little annoyed. He obviously knew what the man was really thinking. He only said it to express his anger. You're courting death. The man casually pulled out the sword from his waist and slashed at Ma Mingquang. Clayton could not stop him in time, and Ma Mingquang's arm was cut off. Fresh blood gushed out and Ma Mingquang screamed in pain. He looked at the man in shock. You actually attacked. Humph, so what if I did? You lowly ant, if you don't even want 20%, then scram. The man said domineeringly. The inner force on his body became even stronger, and it was released in an overbearing manner. You. Ma Mingquang did not expect that the man would pull out his sword just because they were discussing something. His expression changed again and again. He knew that he would not be able to get away with this man. He looked at Clayton, hoping that Clayton would stand up for him. Clayton, this man stole our rice bowl and he even cut me. So what? Do you want to follow in his footsteps? The man snorted impatiently. Who else wants to stand up for him? Come out now. I can save my time by sheathing my sword. Seeing that Clayton did not respond, Ma Mingquang gritted his teeth. He could only pick up the severed arm from the ground and quickly left. He needed to find a place to reattach the arm. No matter how good the treasures in the ancient ruins were, without an arm, his strength would fall greatly. Seeing Ma Mingquang leave without a word, the man was even more pleased. He looked at Xiao Chen and the others proudly. Now let's continue our discussion. 280. Do you have any objections? I don't care how we split it. I just want all the spirit jades in the ancient tomb. Seeing that Clayton was hesitating, Xiao Chen spoke up. He was not interested in anything else. He only wanted the spirit jades. As for Clayton, he did not fight for it. If he did not get anything, it was because he was useless. It had nothing to do with Xiao Chen. You're quite arrogant, aren't you? If it's all spirit jades in there, you want them all? The man looked at Xiao Chen mockingly. You're too noisy. Xiao Chen threw out a large fireball. The target was the man. You. The man was shocked and hurriedly dodged. However, because he was too close, the fireball still hit his left arm. The sleeve on his left arm was instantly burned away. Even his arm was charred black. This turn of events stunned everyone present. Even Clayton, who had fought with Xiao Chen before, looked at Xiao Chen in confusion. He did not know when Xiao Chen had learned such a domineering technique. Furthermore, Xiao Chen's current strength. The man screamed in pain and took 2 steps back. His eyes were filled with shock. You are also a first-stage martial master, devil master. Umph. Xiao Chen said, I only want the spirit jades. Is there a problem? Alright. That man was clearly a person who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Seeing that Xiao Chen's strength was similar to his, and that the martial technique he executed was also rather tyrannical, and that Xiao Chen's overall combat prowess seemed to be slightly stronger than his, he immediately gave in. Chapter 507. The woman quickly took out some ointment from her bag and wiped it on the man's arm. Only then did the man finally heave a sigh of relief. His arm was saved. I'll take 80% of the rest and you take 20%. As for the spirit jades, they all belong to this young hero. What do you think? The man looked at Clayton again and said, I might have been afraid of you before, but you can't use your arm now. Why should I be afraid of you? Clayton revealed his half-step martial master strength. Why should we take 20%? You. The man was a little annoyed. He shouldn't have provoked Xiao Chen just now. He should have just agreed to give him the spirit jades. Now Clayton was a half-step martial master. It would have been easy for him to deal with him in the past, but now he had to force himself to do so. You guys agreed on the division so quickly. Are you looking down on the Supernatural Investigation Bureau? Song Huawu's voice rang out nearby. Xia Shibin followed behind her. Song Huawu sighed when she saw Xiao Chen's large fireball technique with her own eyes. Yang Tan's death was not unjust. What? The man frowned. He didn't expect the people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau to join in the fun. He could be a little overbearing to others, but he couldn't be overbearing to the people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. The Supernatural Investigation Bureau was very powerful. Not only were there many experts, but they also had the responsibility of supervising warriors and martial masters. Therefore, the man glanced at Song Huawu. Although he knew that Song Huawu was weaker than him, he didn't dare to act rashly. Are the two of you from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau? This is my ID. Song Huawu showed her ID and handed it to the man. Shin Hongjian recognized Song Huawu. He had seen her from afar at the Shin family, so he didn't doubt her identity. The man looked at Song Huawu's ID and fell silent. It seemed that those who came to the ancient ruins to get a share of the loot were not easy to deal with. I'm Mo Xiangyin. This is my wife Ma Xiaoying. This is my son Mo Jiqiu. The man introduced himself. We're from the Mo family of Jianghu. So it's the Mo family? Song Huawu nodded and turned to look at Xiao Chen and the others. I am Clayton, a member of the Jianghu Shin family. This is Qin Xinyang, a person who is proficient in the 5 elements and 8 trigrams. This is my friend Xiao Chang, a level 1 devil master. Clayton introduced himself. There are so many people here. Looks like I'm not too late. Another voice rang out from afar. It was two figures rushing over. Both of them were women. However, when Xiao Qin saw them, he was shocked. These two people were actually the people who had come to Little Hong's pharmacy to seek treatment. Back then, when Xiao Qin had treated the old man, the young girl had promised Xiao Qin that she would send spiritual jades to Xiao Qin. However, after such a long time, there had been no news of her. Xiao Qin had thought that they had been delayed by something. He did not expect them to appear here. Moreover, they had come to the ancient ruins to search for treasures. This place was not far from Songning City, yet these two people did not go to Songning City to deliver spiritual jades to him. Their words were like farts. Xiao Qin was a little disdainful. However, it was not good to expose his identity at the moment, so he could only pretend that he did not know them. Level 3 Martial Master? Xiao Qin and the others were completely stunned by the strength that the young lady revealed. Claydin and Emo Xiangyin both widened their eyes. Although the old man didn't reveal his strength, the young lady beside him was a third-layer martial master. What kind of strength did the old lady have? Master, there are so many people here. The young girl looked at the old woman beside her and asked hesitantly. So what if there are many people? The old woman did not care at all. She looked at the crowd and said, in a while the two of us, master and disciple, will enter the ancient ruins. We don't want anything else, but all the spiritual jades here belong to us. How about it? Emo Xiangyin and Claydin looked at each other in dismay. Song Huawu and Xia Shibin were also a little puzzled. Previously they had already informed Xiao Qin that they would do their best to help Xiao Qin obtain spiritual jades. However, this pair of master and disciple wanted to occupy the spiritual jades in the ancient ruins. Wasn't this too dramatic? I don't know where the two of you came from, but before you came, we had already reached an agreement here. It's not good for you to come and interfere, right? Song Huawu said. People from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau? Seeing that Song Huawu had not put away the document in her hand, the old woman glanced at her and said indifferently, the Supernatural Investigation Bureau does not need things like spiritual jades. Don't be a busybody. But this young hero has already said that he only wants spiritual jades. We have also agreed. Song Huawu pointed at Xiao Qin and said, if it were any other time, I would not care about the items in the ancient ruins. However, this old woman's disciple has promised someone to give spiritual jades to that person. Therefore this old woman has come here. This old woman does not wish to fight with weak people like you. However, if you insist on making this old woman's trip be in vain, this old woman has no choice but to take action. The old woman said indifferently. Xiao Qin was stunned when he heard the old woman's words. Her disciple has promised to give spiritual jades to someone? That person. Isn't that me? It seems that this person did not keep his promise. Perhaps due to some reason he did not manage to obtain spiritual jades. Moreover, they had not forgotten to help him obtain spiritual jades during this period. When they heard that there were ancient ruins here, they had come. Alright, then I want something else. I will give the spiritual jades to this senior. In any case, it would be his sooner or later, so Xiao Qin did not feel conflicted. If there were a lot of spiritual jades in the ancient ruins, he would be envied and hated if he took them out. However, who would dare say no if these two took them? You are very sensible. Young man, I will guarantee that I will help you get whatever you like later. Consider it your compensation. The old woman was obviously not an unreasonable person. Although she was overbearing, she was still reasonable. Alright, thank you, senior, Xiao Qin said hurriedly. Just call me Grandma Nanshan. The old woman nodded. This is my disciple Ling. Greetings, Grandma Nanshan. Greetings, Sister Ling. Xiao Qin cupped his fists and said, I am Xiao Chong, a loose cultivator. Who is your sister? Linger glared at Xiao Qin. Although her face was not very good-looking, her pair of eyes were filled with incomparable spirit. Xiao Qin knew that she was wearing a mask, but he did not know the exact reason. Judging from her big eyes, she should be a beauty, but it was hard to say, haha. Xiao Qin did not say anything. Ling did not say anything because Xiao Qin had taken the initiative to give in. She just stood quietly beside Grandma Nanshan. Not long after, two sharp laughs were heard in the air. So many people, but it's not too late. Everyone looked up and saw two men, one old and one young. Xiao Qin also recognized them. They were Qiao En's and the Qing family's elder, Qing Tianqiu. How did they end up mingling together? Xiao Qin was a little puzzled. Qiao En's and Qing Tianqiu were here. Could it be that Qing Tianqiu had already accepted Qiao En's? However, when Qiao En saw Song Huawu and Xia Shibin, his expression changed slightly. He had not expected people from the Supernatural Investigation Department to be here. Originally, he had thought that he would be able to get a share of the loot as long as he revealed his status as a deacon of the Warrior Guild's Law Enforcement Hall. However, he had no choice but to compromise now. When he arrived, he did not care about the others. Instead, he directly said to Song Huawu, "So, Deputy Team Leader Song is here too. It just so happens that we are all in the same system. How about we take the biggest share of the loot from the ancient ruins? I am here on behalf of the Warrior Guild." In his opinion, the others were all loose cultivators. As long as he used the Warrior Guild's name, they would obediently give in. Clayton was a little depressed. He had not expected these people to be so powerful. The Mo family of Jianghu was already unbearable. Behind them, there was also Song Huawu from the Supernatural Investigation Department, and even the two mysterious master and disciple masters. Now there were people from the Warrior Guild. He really could not imagine what he would be left with in the end. He could still pretend to be arrogant in front of the local Warrior Guild. However, he could not contend against the people from the Warrior Guild's Law Enforcement Hall. He could only silently look at Xiao Qin, hoping that he would make a decision. Slap. Xiao Qin slapped Xiao En's face and said angrily, "Where did you come from, you idiot? Can't you see that these two masters are still here? You're just going to distribute the spoils in a do manner? Why don't you ask them what they want?" Xiao En's was immediately stunned by Xiao Chen's slap. He really could not understand. He had already revealed his proud identity. How could someone still dare to hit him? He was a deacon of the Warrior Guild's Law Enforcement Hall. Wasn't this person afraid of his revenge? Granny Nanshan glanced at Linger. Although she knew that Xiao Chen might be using their name to cause trouble, she did not care. She had originally wanted all the spirit jades here. Since Xiao En's was jumping up and down, she could not open her mouth to argue. It was just right for Xiao Chen to do it for her. Linger revealed the strength of a third-stage martial master. Xiao En's was hit. Just as he was wondering what Xiao Chen's strength was, he looked over and saw a third-stage martial master chick. He was so scared that he wet his pants. Cheng Tianqiu's expression changed slightly. With Xiao En's help, he had secretly reached the half-step martial master realm. This was something that he had not told anyone. He had thought that he would be able to control the situation by coming here. However, from the looks of it now, he was nothing. Not to mention the third-stage martial master chick. Even the young hero who had slapped Xiao En seemed to have the strength of a 10th-stage inner force expert or a first-stage martial master. Xiao En's was dumbfounded and speechless. The Supernatural Investigation Bureau is only here to get a share of the loot. It is impossible for us to ask for a bigger share. We have never thought of that. Song Huawu said. However, Xiao En's, if you are capable, please do as you please. Chapter 508. This. Xiao En's heard that there was a good treasure inside. He didn't want to give it up, but he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to get his hands on it. He was a little hesitant. He was in a dilemma and didn't know what to do. Let's follow them and see what we can get. However, if we crack the mechanism ourselves, can the things inside belong to me? Cheng Tianqiu suddenly asked. Song Huawu was slightly stunned. She looked at the master and disciple, but they didn't seem to be tempted at all. They were only here for the spirit jades. Other things didn't seem to attract them at all. Young hero Xiao Chang, tell us about it. Granny Nanshan spoke up. Xiao Chen was the most pleasing to the eye in this place. He had already agreed to take all the spiritual jades. Now that they were here, he gave them all to them. Although he had no choice, it was neat and tidy. It saved Granny Nanshan a lot of trouble. Otherwise, it would be bad for her reputation if she fought with these juniors. She wouldn't look good either. Granny Nanshan was someone who paid attention to such things. If others can't crack it and you crack it, it belongs to you. Xiao Chen thought for a moment and said, if others can crack it, you guys are the last to arrive, so you can only give up. Alright. Xiao En's laughed after hearing this. Although he hated Xiao Chen, he was happy that Xiao Chen had said something beneficial to him. He was very happy. Then it's a deal. As for the other things, you can give them to us if you don't want them. If you guys can't crack the mechanism, we will crack it and the items will naturally belong to us. No one had any objections. Mo Xiangyin and Clayden had completely become a foil. They didn't dare to raise any objections. At this moment, everyone was sitting cross-legged to the side to rest, waiting for the moment when the moon would be blocked. If we can crack it, then you don't even have a fart. Xiao Chen said. Fine. Xiao En's gritted his teeth. He did not dare to provoke this person in front of him. He did not know where this loose cultivator had come from, but he was not afraid of his martial artist guild's law enforcement hall. Damn it, the most infuriating thing was that his surname was also Xiao. Who knew what relationship he had with Xiao Qin? The moon was small like a crescent moon. As it slowly disappeared from the sky, so did the moonlight. Clayden turned on the searchlight that he had prepared beforehand. Xiao Qin was a cultivator, so he could see the situation clearly. However, these warriors and martial artists could not, so this searchlight was of great use. It's almost there. I can feel that the array is starting to weaken, Qin Xinyang cried out in surprise. Xiao Qin was a little surprised. This Qin Xinyang didn't seem to be very strong, but she was proficient in these kinds of arrays. She was indeed a talent. While Xiao Qin was surprised, he heard the voice of the Elder Heaven Ancestor. This Qin Xinyang really knows some things. This array is something that cultivators are proficient in, and she actually knows about it? The voice of the Elder Heaven Ancestor was also a little surprised. It should be enough. Let me try. Qin Xinyang observed the stone door for a long time. Then she took out a small flag from her backpack. It was similar to the kind of flag that football fans wave when they watch a game. Then she directly threw it in front of the stone door. Array flag. She actually has this kind of thing? The voice of the Elder Heaven Ancestor was even more surprised. Elder Heaven Ancestor, what is this array flag? Xiao Qin asked in his heart. Array flag is a tool that array masters use to arrange and break arrays. I don't know where this Qin Xinyang got this kind of thing. Did she make it herself? The Elder Heaven Ancestor said in surprise. Qin Xinyang's action surprised the others. But Qin Xinyang didn't care about their expressions. After throwing the array flag at the stone door, it disappeared. Then she took out another array flag from her backpack and threw it at the stone door. After the array flag fell on the stone door, it also inexplicably disappeared without a trace. This made everyone even more surprised. It's done. It didn't rebound. Instead, it swallowed the array flag that I used to break the array. This proves that the array has entered a weakened state. Everyone follow my instructions. Everyone take a position and attack with all your strength. Qin Xinyang said. AI, it seems that this Qin Xinyang knows something about arrays but not too much. The voice of the Elder Heaven Ancestor sounded. This array, as long as you study it carefully, you can break it. Although there won't be any problem if you attack it directly, it will take a lot of effort. Elder Heaven Ancestor, do you have a way to break it? Xiao Qin asked. And you can also do it. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, it's just that you can't make the array flag. You need a foundation establishment expert. But if you have a good array flag, then you can follow my instructions to break the array. Then this Qin Xinyang? Xiao Qin was a little surprised by the array flag in her hand. It shouldn't be made by her. I don't know where she got it. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Xiao Qin nodded and said, then do I need to help them? Forget it, I don't want to be exposed. And it's better to avoid trouble. You don't know these people. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Qin Xinyang quickly assigned everyone's positions. Since they didn't understand these things, they could only follow Qin Xinyang's arrangement, and each group of 3 occupied a position. Xiao Qin, Clayden and Song Huawu were in a group. Xia Shibin, Qing Tianxiu and Xiao Enz were in a group. Mo Xiangyin and his family were in a group. Grandma Nanshan and her disciple were strong, so they were divided into 4 groups. As for Qin Xinyang, she was in charge of dispatching and commanding. After the arrangements were made, Qin Xinyang nodded and said, in a moment when I tell you to attack, you all just attack the direction in front of you with all your strength. Although this array is weak, it is not weak. When the time comes, we will work together to break this array. Everyone don't hold back your strength. That will only make the array more difficult to break. When the time comes, when the moon comes out, none of us will be able to break the array. Does everyone understand? Understood. Everyone listened to Qin Xinyang's words and immediately nodded. They all understood the pros and cons. Alright, let's attack. Qin Xinyang suddenly shouted, and then everyone immediately began to attack. It was obvious that everyone was going all out. Xiao Qin didn't hold back either. He switched back and forth between the dark flame palm and the fireball technique, continuously attacking the front. Everyone's actions seemed a bit silly, but only those who were in the middle of it knew what they were attacking. In front of them, there was an indescribable barrier that seemed like a protective barrier. Everyone's attacks made clanking sounds. Under Qin Xinyang's guidance, the 4 groups simultaneously attacked the 3 points of the array. In the beginning, the array was still constantly rebounding everyone's attacks. However, after about an hour, the rebounding strength of the array began to decrease. Everyone was somewhat happy. It seemed that their attacks were not in vain. Qin Xinyang really did have some ability. She really knew how to break this array. Therefore, everyone's attacks became even more ferocious. They madly urged their martial skills to attack the front. Soon everyone let's put in more effort. Qin Xinyang looked at the sky with a somewhat worried expression. If they didn't hurry when the moon comes out, the loosened array would once again replenish its energy. Therefore, she wanted everyone to break the array as soon as possible. Suddenly, under everyone's combined attacks, the array issued a loud rumbling sound. It seemed like something had happened. It's done? Qin Xinyang happily shouted. However, what everyone didn't expect was that the moment the array was broken, the energy contained inside seemed to explode in an instant. The explosion sent Xiao Chen and the others flying. This huge energy hit everyone's body. It was a bit excessive to die, but if they weren't prepared, they would definitely be seriously injured. Everyone was knocked to the side. Although the array was broken, they were still seriously injured. Qin Xinyang was also a bit shocked. She looked at everyone and said, I didn't expect that this array contained such a powerful energy. It was my negligence. At that moment, everyone was injured except for Qin Xinyang. If Qin Xinyang had any ulterior motives, everyone would be caught off guard. However, there were a few martial masters among them. Even if they were injured, they could still kill Qin Xinyang if they worked together. Therefore, they weren't worried, but they were more vigilant. Humph, I bet you don't have any good intentions. You want to blow us up so that you can enjoy the ancient ruins alone. Emo Xiangyin coldly snorted. He was obviously a bit dissatisfied. How could that be? Qin Xinyang said. This is just the array on the outside. There must be more hidden mechanisms inside. If all of you are injured, who will break it? Alright, let's not talk about it. This is unavoidable. If everyone is afraid of the energy explosion and doesn't use their full strength, then this array won't be broken. At that moment, Grandma Nanshan spoke. She was the strongest among them, so her injuries were also the lightest. Now that she had adjusted her breathing, she was obviously fine. Xiao Qin, on the other hand, was the person who recovered the fastest. That was because he could heal himself. Although the power of the explosion was great, it was only external injuries. It couldn't harm his foundation, so his recovery speed was the fastest. There are definitely ways to avoid it, but these people don't know about it. Elder Heaven Ancestor's voice sounded in Xiao Chen's ear. Elder Heaven Ancestor, you know about it? Why didn't you say so? Xiao Chen was a bit depressed. Everyone else is injured, but you aren't. Don't you think it's strange? When the time comes, people won't suspect Qin Xinyang but you. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Moreover, these injuries are nothing to you. Xiao Chen nodded. That was indeed the case. Everyone was vomiting blood. If Xiao Chen wasn't injured, everyone would definitely suspect him. Even Grandma Nanshan's mouth was bleeding. She was obviously caught off guard and was hit. Chapter 509. How does everyone feel? Qin Xinyang asked. There's a time limit to how long this formation can be activated. Although it's broken, we broke it by force. When the moon comes out, the formation will automatically recharge itself and return to its original state. We won't be able to enter then. What? The formation will return to its original state? Does that mean we still have to break the formation when we come out? Emo Xiangyin asked in surprise. That's right. Now do you know why I said I didn't do it on purpose? If something happens to everyone, I'll be trapped inside even if I go in myself. Qin Xinyang said. Everyone nodded after hearing this. However, Xiao Chen was a little puzzled. Since there was such a reason, why didn't Qin Xinyang mention it earlier? Wouldn't this reason be more convincing than Grandma Nanshan's explanation for her? However, it was really strange that she didn't mention it earlier. Very soon, Xiao Chen's injuries were healed. As for the others, they stood up one after another after consuming the medicinal pills. Now, everyone follow me into the formation. Don't act blindly without thinking and don't touch anything in the cave. Do you understand? Qin Xinyang reminded them. Everyone nodded. They had just experienced the power of the formation, so they didn't dare act blindly without thinking. They followed Qin Xinyang and entered the cave one by one. Inside the cave there was a luminous pearl embedded every few meters. If these luminous pearls were auctioned in the secular world, each of them would fetch a sky-high price. However, in these ancient ruins they were only used as street lights. Qiao Enz and Qing Tianxiu looked at the luminous pearls with greed in their eyes. Their status was relatively low, so they were considered existences that spent their days in the secular world. Therefore their desire for money was especially strong. When they saw the luminous pearls they liked them very much. They wanted to take a few of them back with them. If this item were to be taken out, it would definitely be priceless. Qing Tianxiu gave Qiao Enz a look. The two of them deliberately lagged behind the others. Soon the two of them were at the back of the group. Then, Qiao Enz took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention to reach for the luminous pearls from the wall. However, just as his hand touched the night luminescent pearl, an arrow came out of nowhere and pierced through Qiao Enz's shoulder. Qiao Enz immediately let out a wail. F***ck me? John Enz knelt on the ground in pain. His face was pale. He didn't know what the arrowhead was smeared with, but when it hit his body he felt excruciating pain. It was as if his heart was being torn apart and he wanted to die. When everyone heard the exclamation, they turned their heads and saw Qiao Enz lying on the ground. What happened? Qin Xinyang was shocked. She looked at them and asked in a deep voice, "What did you do?" "I didn't move. I don't know where the poison arrow came from. It hurts so much." "Qin Xinyang, why didn't you tell me?" Qiao Enz naturally refused to admit that he had touched the night pearl. "That's impossible. I was walking in front and you guys were walking behind me. How could I be hit by an arrow?" Qin Xinyang was confused. "Look at the dust on the luminous pearl. There are traces of it being touched. Are you trying to steal the luminous pearl?" Xiao Qin pointed at the luminous pearl on Qiao En's head and mocked him. Sure enough. Song Hua Wu also saw that the luminous pearl had traces of it being touched. Obviously it was caused by Qiao En's greed. "Didn't I tell you not to touch it? Why didn't you listen?" Qin Xinyang seemed a little agitated. "Do you know that if you touch these things, it might cause all of us to suffer? If you don't want to go, then leave as soon as possible while the array is not closed." "Humph, if you touch it again I'll kill you." Xia Shibin glared at Qiao Enz. "You idiot." Xia Shibin saw that Xiao Qin scolded Qiao Enz, so he also scolded. "You guys." Qiao Enz was a little depressed. How could he have known that it was just touching the luminous pearl? He didn't expect that there would be danger and he would even be scolded. Especially that Xiao Chong, he was really annoying. If he didn't say anything, who would have discovered it? Qing Tianxiu pulled out the arrow from Qiao En's shoulder. There was a barb on it, causing Qiao Enz to grimace in pain. However, seeing that everyone continued to walk forward, he could only quickly keep up, temporarily ignoring the pain in his shoulder. There was no danger along the way, but there were no treasures either. However, the luminous pearls on both sides of the road could only be seen but not touched. After walking for a while, a fork appeared in front of them. Qin Xinyang stopped in her tracks and didn't rush forward. "Qin Xinyang, which path should we take?" Seeing that Qin Xinyang didn't speak for a long time, Mo Xiangyin couldn't help but ask. "I also don't know. I didn't expect there to be a fork in the road. These two roads seem to be similar. I tried to distinguish them for a long time, but I couldn't find any difference. I also don't know which one to take." Qin Xinyang shook her head and said, "Ah." Clayton was also a little dumbfounded. If Qin Xinyang didn't know, then they didn't know either. Actually, according to him, they should just take a random path and return if they couldn't. However, no one knew if there would be danger if they took the wrong path, so they said, "Then what should we do? Why don't we split up and take one path each? If everyone wants to go this way, then go this way. If everyone wants to go that way, then go that way. What do you think?" Qiao Enz, who had recovered some of his strength at this time, suggested. "That's a good idea." Qing Tianxiu also nodded in agreement. Qin Xinyang's eyes flashed with a trace of imperceptible joy, but she quickly concealed it and nodded. "This is also a good idea. Then let's do it this way. If you want to go this way, then go this way. If you want to go that way, then go as you please." "We'll go this way." Qiao Enz pointed to the right path and said without thinking, "I'm with him." Qing Tianxiu pointed to Qiao Enz and said. Clayton frowned, obviously unable to come to a decision. He glanced at Xiao Qin, hoping that he could come up with an idea. At this time, Mo Xiangyin hesitated for a moment and stood on the right side saying, "We'll also go this way." "Elder Heaven Ancestor?" Xiao Qin couldn't make up his mind and asked. "Qin Xinyang, you can go in the opposite direction from her." Elder Heaven Ancestor suddenly said. Xiao Qin was surprised. Why must he go in the opposite direction from Qin Xinyang? He was a little puzzled, but since Elder Heaven Ancestor said so, then Elder Heaven Ancestor definitely wouldn't harm him. Therefore Xiaoqin didn't answer and pretended to be hesitant. He didn't immediately make a decision and instead asked, "Sister Qin, which way do you want to go?" "I think I'll go right," Qin Xinyang said after thinking for a moment. "Since all of you go right, I'll go left," Xiaoqin said after thinking for a moment. Clayton was a little puzzled. Why would Xiaoqin go left? Qin Xinyang was proficient in the 5 elements and 8 trigrams and formations. If he followed her, it would be much easier. Why would Xiaoqin choose the opposite direction? Qin Xinyang was also a little surprised, but she didn't say anything. She only nodded and said, "Okay. Let's go left too," Granny Nanshan said. It wasn't because of Xiaoqin, but because she felt that it would be easier to split the loot if there were fewer people. As for Qin Xinyang, Granny Nanshan felt that it was a little strange. Ling naturally followed Granny Nanshan. Clayton hesitated for a moment, but he still chose Qin Xinyang's team. After all, he was the one who found Qin Xinyang and she was proficient in formations. Therefore he felt that it was safer for Qin Xinyang. Xiaoqin didn't force the issue. If he spoke now, it would arouse the suspicion of others. Song Huawu and Xia Shibin were definitely on Xiaoqin's side. Therefore the number of people on both sides was about the same. Everyone split up and entered the fork. "Granny Nanshan, where are you from? You seem rather mysterious," Xiaoqin asked as he walked. This fork was similar to the original path. There was no danger and there were luminous pearls on both sides. "Don't ask questions that you shouldn't ask." Granny Nanshan didn't answer, but Ling did. "It's just a few people. It's boring. Let's just have a chat," Xiaoqin said. "At your level, you shouldn't be lacking in spirit jades. Why did you still come here? Why do you have so much to say?" Ling glared at Xiaoqin. "I wanted to tell you something, but I won't say it if you don't want to." Xiaoqin shrugged. He was a little angry. They had promised to give him spirit jades, but they didn't have them. If there were no spirit jades in the ruins, wouldn't they be going back on their word? Granny Nanshan stopped in her tracks and turned to look at Xiaoqin. "Why did you disguise yourself and come here? Also, you don't seem to be injured at all. When the formation exploded, it didn't hurt you. You knew about it, so you made preparations, didn't you?" After saying this, Granny Nanshan's sharp killing intent suddenly appeared. Xiaoqin shivered. He didn't know what level of expert she was. The only thing Xiaoqin felt was that she was powerful. She was too powerful. Xiaoqin couldn't help but smile bitterly. Although his strength had increased, the illusion had lasted longer. Logically speaking, no one could see through it. Clayton hadn't been able to see through it back then. Clayton had only seen through his illusion because he had locked onto his aura and sensed that he wasn't running away. He hadn't seen through it with his eyes. However, Granny Nanshan was able to see through his disguise. This really surprised Xiaoqin. In theory, neither demonic cultivators nor martial cultivators could see through Xiaoqin's illusion, unless they were cultivators. As expected, even an expert like Ling looked at Xiaoqin with slight doubt. She didn't see anything wrong with the person in front of her. Song Huawu and Xia Shibin, who were behind Xiaoqin, were a little worried. However, they couldn't help at all. After all, their strength was obvious. Chapter 510. Granny Nanshan, what are you talking about? Why would I disguise myself? Xiaoqin did not admit it. As for my injuries, I vomited blood earlier. You should have seen it. I only recovered faster because I had some healing pills with me. After we were reflected by the formation, I observed everyone's expression and performance. From the beginning to the end, you didn't take any healing medicine. Granny Nanshan's Chinese turned cold as she said, "Most importantly, when you're treating your injuries, your face becomes very blurry. It's as if another face is faintly discernible. You must have used the techniques of a demonic cultivator to disguise yourself. Logically speaking, the illusions of demonic cultivators are ineffective against high-level experts. I don't know why you are so powerful. However, you don't have to deny it." This. Xiaoqin was shocked. He had been careless. He had not expected Granny Nanshan to be paying attention to everyone's performance. Granny Nanshan naturally knew whether he had taken any medicine or not. Most importantly, why did the illusion of his face become blurry and faintly discernible? When he thought of this, Xiaoqin roughly understood what had happened. He had expended a large amount of physical strength and vital energy to break the array formation. After that, he had been injured and had to use vital energy to heal himself. Therefore, the vital energy needed to maintain the illusion was naturally less. Everyone else was busy recuperating, so no one paid any attention to Xiaoqin. Therefore no one else saw it. Qin Xinyang's strength was lower than Xiao Chen's, and it was impossible for her to keep observing Xiao Chen. She did not have Granny Nanshan's ability to control the situation without batting an eyelid. He had not expected Granny Nanshan to see through him. Who are you? What do you want? Linger drew her sword and pointed it at Xiao Chen. She shouted angrily, "Tell me or I'll kill you. You used to call me senior and said that you owed me a favor. Now you want to kill me with your sword. You are really heartless." Since Xiao Chen had been seen through, he did not need to use the illusion and waste his vital energy. Both Song Huawu and Xia Shibi knew his appearance, so he did not need to hide it from them. Hence, under Linger's astonished gaze, Xiao Chen reverted to his original appearance and white fox voice. "You are." Ling-er felt that Xiao Chen's voice was a little familiar, but she didn't recognize his face. She immediately felt a little strange. "When did I call you senior, Little Hong's medicine store? Have you forgotten that you brought Granny Nanshan here for treatment?" Xiao Chen harumphed and said, "You want to give me spirit jades? I didn't expect you to come here to get spirit jades." Ah! Ling-er was shocked and threw the sword in her hand to the ground. She widened her eyes and looked at Xiao Chen in disbelief. "You are that white fox medicine master. Yeah, it seems like you don't pay attention to the situation outside at all. I'm wanted by the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Almost everyone knows that the white fox is me," Xiao Chen said with a bitter smile. Granny Nanshan was also a little surprised. She had been unconscious at the time, so she did not know about Xiao Chen. However, she had heard about these things from Ling-er. Otherwise, she would not have come here with Ling-er to find ancient jade for Xiao Chen. At that moment, Granny Nanshan more or less understood that the person in front of her was her savior. The murderous aura on her body immediately disappeared. "Ah, the two people next to you are from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Does that mean they recognize you? I'll help you kill them." Ling-er's strength immediately increased, and she was about to attack Song Huawu and Xia Shibin. Although she would not kill indiscriminately, she could only attack when her savior Xiao Chen was involved. "Don't. They are my people." Xiao Chen hurriedly stopped her. "Huh? The people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau are on your side?" Ling-er was slightly stunned. A faint blush flashed across Song Huawu's face. Xiao Chen's words were somewhat ambiguous, which made her feel a little embarrassed. However, when she saw that the others did not seem to think too much about it, she nodded and said, "I'm desk mate with Xiao Chen. This is his classmate. We can be considered to be on the same side as Xiao Chen." "Everyone from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau goes to school? That's strange." Ling-er withdrew her murderous aura after hearing that. "So it was young hero Xiao who saved me. I thank you here." Granny Nanshan's attitude toward Xiao Chen also changed. "To be honest, young hero Xiao, back then Ling-er promised to get some spirit jade for you. Our sect did not do anything wrong, but the sect's great elder did not believe that you could cure my injury. He felt that Ling-er and I were lying to him on purpose. We deliberately made it sound so serious so that we could get spirit jade for an outsider." "What? Didn't Ling-er say that spirit jade was not valued on your side?" Xiao Chen was a little puzzled. Why was this great elder so stingy? Why would he not give something that was not that great to others? In the past, they didn't receive much attention. However, things are different now. Some time ago, a teleportation array formation was discovered in an ancient ruin. That array formation uses spirit jades as a source of energy. Therefore, every sect is collecting spirit jades in order to qualify for the teleportation array formation. Granny Nanshan didn't hide anything. Our sect is doing the same. Therefore, if I ask for spirit jade now, the great elder will obviously not give it to me easily. So that's how it is. Xiao Chen was somewhat astonished. He had not expected that the teleportation formation would also require spirit jades. It looked like he was a step too late. If he had done so earlier before the news spread, he would have been able to obtain spirit jades easily. "Yes, but since Little Ling has agreed, we've been looking for information about spirit jades. Unfortunately, all the places with spirit jades know about the transportation matrix. Spirit jades have become invaluable, and they can't be obtained easily. That's why we came here when we heard that there are ancient ruins here that might contain spirit jades," Granny Nanshan said. "That's right, but since Little Ling has agreed, we've been looking for spirit jades all this time. I also heard that there is spirit jade here, so I came here," Xiao Chen said. "However, I'm not sure if there really is one. We can only take it one step at a time." Granny Nanshan said, "However, don't worry. We will do our best to fulfill our promise. When the time comes, if there is no spirit jade here, we will help you look for it elsewhere. Thank you very much. Xiao Qin cupped his fists. He had also figured out that Ling Er had not sent spirit jade over previously, not because she had not kept her promise, but because they had not been able to obtain spirit jade. There is no need to thank me. I am very grateful that you have helped me heal my injuries, Granny Nanshan said. By the way, young hero Xiao, your strength is so weak. How were you able to heal my injuries? Weak? Xiao Qin was a little embarrassed. The strength that he was so proud of had become weak in Granny Nanshan's words. I am an apothecary, so I am more proficient in these things. As for Ling Er, I remember that you were at the peak of the 10th level last time. How did you become a 3rd level martial master now? I was also injured last time, so my strength was suppressed, Ling Er said. You are so powerful. Who could hurt you? Xiao Qin was stunned. My master went berserk during cultivation and I was guarding her, so I was affected. Ling Er blushed. She could not blame anyone but herself, so she felt a little embarrassed. Is that so? Xiao Qin broke out in a sweat. Since we are all on the same side, let's discuss how we should act. Don't advance rashly. Granny Nanshan reminded him. Many ancient ruins are full of danger. It is not a place that can be entered easily. All right. Xiao Qin nodded and said, Granny Nanshan, how much do you know about the 5 elements and 8 trigrams? I know a little but not much, Granny Nanshan said. However, although Qin Xinyang knows about it, I feel that there is something wrong with her. She is up to no good. Xiao Qin could not help but nod approvingly. Not bad. Granny Nanshan, you can also see that there is something wrong with her? There is something wrong. Logically speaking, when we separated at the fork in the road, she should have asked everyone to take the same path. That way, with so many people, if we encountered danger, we could work together to resolve it. However, she did not. Instead, she asked us to choose. This is a little strange, Granny Nanshan said. This does not conform to normal logic. Moreover, when she saw our people separated, she was secretly delighted. There is one more thing that I suspect. Xiao Qin said, back then she said that we still had to break the array when we left, so she did not deliberately let everyone get hurt. However, she did not say it before and only said it later. In that case, she should not have asked us to separate. If everyone got separated, it would be very difficult for them to break the array with only a few people. Yes, what young hero Xiao said makes sense. Granny Nanshan said. What does this mean? I'm guessing that there must be another way out of the ancient ruins. She separated us so that there would be fewer people to split the good treasures. That should be the case. Xiao Qin nodded. So, there is nothing good on this path? Xia Shibin asked in a daze. Not necessarily. Xiao Qin shook his head. Although Qin Xinyang knows a little, it is obvious that she has not been here before. Her choice might not be the right one. That is true. Xia Shibin nodded. Boss, shall we continue forward now? And let's walk and see, Xiao Qin said. By the way, Xiao Qin, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia said that he sent you a message. Take a look. Song Huawu did not want to remind him before, but now that everyone had made it public, she said it directly. Xiao Qin took out his mobile phone. They might not have reached the depths of the ruins yet, but there was still a phone signal. Perhaps this mobile phone was specially customized by the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, and it was quite awesome. Yang Tan's mobile phone had disappeared a long time ago. This was a new one that Xiao Qin had applied for, and it still used Yang Tan's number and information. The message read, help me find a small booklet called The 5 Poison Secrets in the Ancient Ruins. If it is found by others, try to snatch it back. I will find a way to coordinate this year's cultivation resources and give you 50% more than usual. Chapter 511. After reading it, Xiao Qin handed the phone to Song Huawu and asked, what is this? Did he tell you? No. It seems like it wasn't an order from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, but his own. You have a beneficial relationship with him, but we don't. He wouldn't tell us about this. Song Huawu looked at Xia Zhili's promise and immediately gritted her teeth in anger. The Supernatural Investigation Bureau was supposed to be a high and mighty existence, but it has been turned into a mess by these black sheep. Cultivation resources were supposed to belong to everyone, so he could only embezzle from others if he gave you more. Our resources were all embezzled by these vermin and given to their trusted aides. I really want to kill him. Xiao Qin hadn't expected Song Huawu to have such a sense of justice. However, when he thought about it, it made sense. Song Huawu had been diligent and earnest, yet her cultivation resources had been embezzled. Meanwhile, Yang Jianan was a bootlicker, yet he received more cultivation resources than others every year. How could the others feel indignant? Granny Nanshan, have you heard that there is a booklet in the ancient ruins called the Five Poisons Secret Manual? Xiaoqin couldn't help but ask. Granny Nanshan was slightly taken aback. She then shook her head and said, I only paid attention to the spirit jades. I'm not interested in anything else. This ancient ruins is a 3rd grade to 5th grade ruin. Although there are good treasures inside, they are relatively inferior. I don't care for them. Xiaoqin was a little surprised. If Granny Nanshan didn't care for the items in the ancient ruins, then how powerful was the power behind her? However, Xiaoqin didn't bother asking about Granny Nanshan's background. Everyone had already been honest with each other, so Granny Nanshan had naturally said what she could. As for the rest, there was no need to say it. Even if Xiaoqin asked, they wouldn't say anything. Young hero Xiao, you and the Hong Clan Chamber of Commerce. Granny Nanshan suddenly asked. Hongzhu and I are good friends. Xiaoqin didn't hide anything. I came to help her look after the store that day. It seems like I'm really lucky. If Medicine Master Qin or Medicine Master Lu were here, they might not have been able to heal my injuries so quickly. It's not just that our great elder doesn't believe it. If I hadn't experienced it myself, I wouldn't have believed it either. Granny Nanshan said, young hero Zhao's medical skills are really amazing. This old one is truly impressed. Granny Nanshan is too kind, Xiaoqin said modestly. Now I finally understand why you were injured just now but you healed so quickly. Thinking of your medical skills, it's not hard to understand, Granny Nanshan said with a smile. As they continued to move forward, Song Huawu lowered her voice and said to Xiaoqin, didn't you want to bring Yi Xiaoye along? Why didn't you bring it? I'm afraid I'll be exposed. Xiaoqin said, the fewer people who know about my identity, the better. If she comes, people might be suspicious. Moreover, if there's anything good here, I won't forget about her. Song Huawu nodded. Fortunately, you know Granny Nanshan. Otherwise, I'm afraid things would be difficult to deal with. Yes, it seems like choosing this way was the right choice. Xiaoqin said, but in his heart, he asked the Elder Heaven Ancestor, Elder Heaven Ancestor, is this really the right way? According to my observation, it should be possible to go either way. It's just that the paths are different to confuse people. The designer of the ruins didn't specify which path is correct. According to my experience, this is the case, the Elder Heaven Ancestor said. In other words, both paths might be safe? Xiaoqin asked. Yes, but one of them might be slightly more dangerous but it can still be resisted. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, of course, this is only my judgment. It might not be accurate. It might be smooth sailing. All right. Xiaoqin nodded. In fact, what he wanted to know the most was whether this path was correct or not. It seemed like there shouldn't be a problem now. Sure enough, there was no obstruction along the way. Although the luminous pearls on both sides were bright and tempting, no one touched them. However, to everyone's disappointment, although there was no danger along the way, there was nothing good either. After walking for a while, a vast hall appeared in front of them. Obviously they had reached their destination. They came to the hall from the exit and saw another passage beside the passage. It should be the one that Qin Xinyang and the others had taken before. Sure enough, the Elder Heaven Ancestor was right. These two paths could lead to this place. However, Qin Xinyang wasn't in the hall. In the distance there was a stone door. Did Qin Xinyang and the others enter the stone door first? However, seeing that the stone door was intact, it didn't seem like anyone had passed through it. Are they not here yet? Xiaoqin asked. Granny Nanshan stared at the ground. After a while she said, I don't think so. The dust on the ground is moving in a regular pattern, which proves that no one has passed through here. Xiaoqin looked at the ground carefully. Indeed, that was the case. However, he was a little worried. He wasn't worried about Qin Xinyang as her death had nothing to do with him. He was worried about Shen Hongjian and Qing Tianqiu. Although the Cheng family and the Xiao family were at odds, he was still the grandfather of the young mistress. It was hard to say if he was involved with Cheng Mingqiang, so Xiaoqin was still quite worried. As he was thinking about this, he saw a figure covered in blood stumbling out of another passage. As soon as she came out, she fell to the ground and panted heavily. Qin Xinyang. Song Huawu was shocked. When she saw who it was, she looked behind her. There was no one there, so she couldn't help but ask, where are the others? There was a trap. They all fell into a trap. Qin Xinyang said while panting. Luckily, I know a bit about traps, so I was able to escape. What? A trap? Where is the trap? Xiao Qin quickly asked. What exactly is going on? That Xiao En's was too greedy. He saw a treasure chest and wanted to take it, but he triggered a trap. Clayton and the others didn't have time to dodge, so they were hit by the trap. Qin Xinyang said. Then they... Xiao Qian's heart sank. After that, the ground cracked and they all fell in. I was lucky enough to escape, but I was seriously injured by the trap. Qin Xinyang spat out a mouthful of blood as she spoke. Xiao Qin fell into deep thought. Was the other path really as the Elder Heaven Ancestor had said dangerous? However, this Qin Xinyang was very suspicious. She ran out of the passage and fell to the ground after exiting the passage. Wasn't that too fake? Why didn't she crawl out? Thinking of this, Xiao Qin raised an eyebrow and asked coldly, Did you kill them and escape by yourself? Since everyone here was Xiao Qian's people, there was nothing to be afraid of. Granny Nanshan would support him. Young hero Xiao, how is that possible? Elder sister isn't that kind of person. Besides, what good would it do me if they died? There are many dangers in the ancient ruins. Everyone should work together. Qin Xinyang was stunned. She quickly said, Moreover, when we go out, we still need everyone to break the formation together. Without them, it won't be easy to break the formation. Is that so? Then why didn't you let us go with you? Why did you want to act alone? What if we can't make it here and you only have a few people left? Without the 3 martial masters on our side, can you break the formation? Xiao Qin asked with a cold smile. This. Qin Xinyang didn't expect Xiao Qin to consider things so carefully. She realized that she had been careless. Her expression was a little uncertain. Moreover, you didn't mention anything about breaking the formation when we entered the ancient ruins. Instead, you only mentioned it after. I'm afraid there must be another way out, right? And you said it on the spur of the moment. You didn't think too much about it, which led to these loopholes? Xiao Qin asked coldly. This. Qin Xinyang was a little speechless. She didn't expect Xiao Qin to be so careful and see through so many problems. Qin Xinyang was a little unwilling to give up. She turned to look at Granny Nanshan and Song Huawu, but she saw that they were also looking at her coldly. Thinking of this, she could only say, Fine, I admit that I was a little petty, but Xiao En's was really greedy. At most, I didn't help him and didn't stop him in time. You? Xiao Qian's killing intent soared. He looked at Qin Xinyang angrily. Even if Xiao En's is a problem, let him die on his own. The others are innocent. I know, but there are limited treasures in this ancient ruin. I don't want so many people to take a share. Qin Xinyang said, They caused the problem themselves, so it's understandable that they have to bear the consequences. Now that we are the only ones left, we can get a little more. Song Huawu knew about the relationship between Xiao Qin, Clayden, and Qing Tianqiu. She looked at Qin Xinyang and shouted, Humph, treating human lives like grass. Qin Xinyang, do you know what you're doing? That has nothing to do with me. Qin Xinyang said. If they had walked obediently, there wouldn't have been any problems. At most, I would have been selfish and didn't save them. But isn't the cultivation world like this? Take us to save them now. Song Huawu understood what Xiao Qin was thinking. It wasn't convenient for Xiao Qin to say it, so she said on behalf of Xiao Qin, This is the responsibility of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. We have to save them. If you want to go, go on your own. I'm not going, Qin Xinyang said. I have no obligation to cooperate with you. Granny Nanshan, Young Hero Ling, Young Hero Xiao, let's go first. If the people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau want to go back, then let them. In Qin Xinyang's opinion, these people would definitely support her. After all, who would want to go back? However, she didn't expect Granny Nanshan to also say coldly, saving them is more important. Qin Xinyang, take us back unless you want to die. You don't meddle in other people's business. I won't go back. I don't believe you can do anything to me. Without me, you won't be able to solve the ancient tomb's mechanisms. Chapter 5:12. Look at the stone door over there. It's also a formation. You can't break it. Qin Xinyang said, So, if you want to break the formation you have to listen to me. Otherwise if I die, you will be trapped here and can't get out. Is that so? Xiao Qin said coldly, Don't think that just because you got a few formation flags and know some shallow formation, you are a grandmaster. Even without you we can still break the formation. You know that it's a formation flag? Qin Xinyang looked at Xiao Qin in surprise. The small flag in her hand was a very rare existence in the martial arts world. No one knew about it because these formation flags would be integrated into the formation after it was set up and could not be seen at all. These remaining formations were set up by the great powers of the ancient times, so very few people knew about formation flags. They didn't even know their names, let alone recognize them. Don't be surprised, I also know about formations. Didn't you see that I wasn't injured? I had a premonition that the formation would explode, so I dodged it at that moment. Xiao Qin said casually. Qin Xinyang looked at Xiao Qin and bit her lip, unwilling to give up. If you don't want to die, then come back with us. Xiao Qin said. All right. Qin Xinyang hesitated for a moment and nodded. They continued to move forward through the passage that Qin Xinyang had passed through. After walking for about half the distance, Qin Xinyang stopped and said, It's here. Look, there are a lot of bloodstains on the ground. Xiao Qin looked down and sure enough there were bloodstains on the ground. It was very frightening. How did this mechanism open? Xiao Qin asked. I don't know. There was a treasure chest there before. Xiao Ens touched it and triggered the mechanism, but then the treasure chest was swept under the ground. Qin Xinyang said, pointing to a place not far away. Sure enough, there were traces of a chest on the ground. There was no dust, but there was dust everywhere. Xiao Qin arrived near the treasure chest. He didn't see any mechanisms or anything special, so he was a little puzzled. At this time, Granny Nanshan, Linger Songhuawu, and Xia Shibin were also helping him look for mechanisms nearby, but they didn't find anything. Suddenly, from the ceiling of the passageway, a long iron block that was chained up by a chain suddenly appeared and smashed towards Xiao Chen and the others. The cross-section of the iron block was almost as wide as a passageway, and it was very long. There was no way to dodge, no way to dodge. At this moment, Qin Xinyang was standing not too far away, looking at them with a smug smile on her face. There was a hint of ridicule in her smile, as though she was saying, Are you all stupid? Let you come back? Clang. Granny Nanshan suddenly roared as the metal block came crashing down. She pushed with both hands, trying to push the metal block up. However, the metal block was made of some unknown material. It was extremely heavy. Even with all her strength, Granny Nanshan could only slow down the speed of the metal block's descent, making it slightly slower. Granny Nanshan was stunned. She was a little shocked. She knew her own strength very well. This metal block didn't look very big, so how could it be so powerful? There's no need to resist. This is the power of the array formation. Qin Xinyang laughed sinisterly. All of you shall die. There was a path to heaven, but you refused to take it. Since you insisted on dying, I shall grant your wish. Go down and be buried with Clayden and the others. So you were the one who caused their deaths. Xiao Qin shouted angrily. That's right. It's too late now. Following Qin Xinyang's words, the large piece of metal fell down and smashed into Xiao Qin and the others' bodies. Although Granny Nanshan had blocked it, Xiao Qin and the others couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood when the metal block came crashing down. They were seriously injured and couldn't get out from under the metal block. Goodbye, everyone. As Qin Xinyang spoke, she reached out and casually pressed a few times on the wall. Suddenly, a huge crack appeared on the ground under the metal block. Everyone fell down quickly and the crack above them slowly closed up. When the ground was completely closed up, the metal block rose up again and was completely hidden in the ceiling. Only the blood that Xiao Chen and the others had just spat out was left on the ground. Humph, a bunch of idiots. I wanted to keep you guys as cannon fodder, but I didn't expect you to be so eager to die. I can only fulfill your wish. Qin Xinyang sneered and quickly ran toward the hall. Xiao Chen and the others fell rapidly in the darkness. Everyone was falling very fast, so it was difficult to see the situation below. Even Granny Nanshan couldn't sense it. However, Xiao Chen's six senses were powerful, so he could still see that there was a pool below them. This made him heave a sigh of relief. Even if everyone was an expert and Xiao Chen was a cultivator, falling from such a high height would definitely be a problem. They would definitely be smashed to pieces. Plop. Everyone fell into the pool. Apart from Xiao Chen, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily they were still alive. The pool was a little deep, but everyone didn't care. They quickly swam to the shore. At that moment, a weak voice came from the shore. Who? Clayton. Xiao Chen looked up. Indeed, there were a few people sitting not far from the shore of the pool. It was Clayton and the others. Xiao Chen could see them clearly, but they couldn't see Xiao Chen and the others. Therefore Xiao Chen said, Clayton, right? Are you guys all right? We're all injured. Are you guys injured too? We were tricked by that B*TC's Qin Xinyang. Clayton was a little angry. We were seriously injured and fell down. Fortunately, there was a pool and we were able to keep our lives. We almost died here. Yeah, that Qin Xinyang is really despicable. If I can get out, I'll definitely tear her to pieces. The one who spoke was Mo Xiangyin. My son's strength is weak and he's currently unconscious. I'm so angry. Xiao Qin looked over. Sure enough, Mo Zhiqiu was lying beside Mo Xiangyin. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Not far away there was also a person lying beside Qing Tianqiu. It was Qiao En's. Since Mo Zhiqiu was unconscious, Qiao En's wasn't any better. We were also tricked by Qin Xinyang. Xiao Qin said. When we came out of the passage we saw Qin Xinyang stumbling out alone. I was suspicious and asked for your whereabouts. She said that you fell into a trap, so I asked her to lead us to look for you. In the end, you came to look for us? Clayton was a little excited. Sure enough, Xiao Qin wouldn't abandon him. However, that Qin Xinyang was too vicious. She seemed to be very familiar with some of the traps in the ancient ruins. Even if they were very strong, they still couldn't guard against her. Yes, we felt that there was something wrong with her, so we came to look for you. I didn't expect to fall into her trap. Xiao Qin secretly sighed. It was already too late when he discovered the problem. Otherwise, he could have instantly killed her with a fireball. However, when the iron block smashed down, he didn't have enough time to circulate his yuan qi. Young hero Xiao, I really have to thank you. You can be considered a righteous person. If it was someone else, they would have wished for as few people as possible to divide the treasures. I didn't expect you to find us. Clayton said with some emotion. That's right, young hero Xiao, this old man is also very grateful. Qing Tianqiu said sincerely. May I know how old young hero Xiao Chang is? Are you married? Xiao Qin was a little speechless. What does this mean? However, he still said, Hero Qing, let's think about how to get out of here. Now is not the time to talk about these trivial things. The person beside you, is he dead? He's still alive, but... Qing Tianqiu sighed. He originally thought that Qiao En's was a good person. He had both status and background. If he married into the Qing family, it would definitely bring great development to the Qing family. However, along the way to the ancient ruins, Qing Tianqiu was already a little disappointed in him. From what he said, he only wanted Qing Minjing to be his concubine, not his wife. How could this Qing Tianqiu agree? No matter what, the Qing family was the #1 family in Songning. Moreover, the Qing family was still counting on the Qiao family for development. If Qing Minjing was only Qiao En's concubine, how could the Qing family receive the corresponding strong support? Without strong support, wouldn't the Qing family have no benefits? Moreover, this was not all. After entering the ancient ruins, Qing Tianqiu discovered that this Qiao En's was really greedy. He was even more greedy than him. He was from an aristocratic family in the secular world. It was normal for him to be greedy for money. However, he was a warrior guild law enforcement hall deacon and a member of the Qiao family. Such a high level, yet he was still greedy for money. Forget about the night luminescent pearl. That was what Qing Tianqiu also wanted. However, Qing Tianqiu didn't dare to touch the private room after that. He had learned his lesson from the night luminescent pearl. He was already very careful, but Qiao En still touched it. If it weren't for his greed, would these people have fallen for Qin Xinyang's trick? Everyone dispersed. Qin Xinyang wasn't that easy to deal with. What is this place? Did you guys investigate before? Xiao Qin asked. We didn't dare to investigate. It's pitch black here. We can't see anything. There's no light at all. Qing Tianqiu sighed. Following the sound, we held hands and moved forward to investigate. However, we discovered that there were many dried bones not far from us. We didn't dare to go any further. It was impossible to tell north from south. Who would dare to act blindly without thinking? Xiao Qin nodded. Dried bones? Could it be that someone fell down and died here? Now that he thought about it, it was possible. It was pitch black here. Whether it was a martial artist or a martial artist, their perception of the martial path was very poor. Moreover, it was impossible for them to see in the dark. If other martial artists fell down and couldn't find a way out, it was very likely that they would be trapped here and die. If he didn't come down, Clayton and the others would also have nowhere to go. However, Xiao Qin couldn't ignore Clayton. No matter what, as long as his relationship with Xin Jingshan existed, Xiao Qin could only care about him. Chapter 513. I'll take a look first. Follow me later. Xiao Qin thought for a moment and said, I'm a demonic cultivator. The mantra I practice is quite special and my perception is quite strong. Follow you? Who knows if you'll trick us or not? Emo Xiangyin said. If you don't believe me you can stay here. No one will force you to follow me. Xiaoqin said, don't think that you have to follow me just because I came here to find you. There's no need. This. Emo Xiangyin hesitated. Indeed, if Xiaoqin did not force them to leave they could choose not to. I'll follow you, young hero Xiao, Clayden said without hesitation. I'll follow you too. Qing Qianqiu knew that staying here was equivalent to waiting for death. Previously, he had impulsively opened up a path and ended up touching a pile of bones. He wanted to go out more than the others. Shen Hongjin was a martial arts fanatic and did not have a strong sense of belonging to the Shen family. It was not a big deal for him to die outside. Emo Xiangyin's family of 3 was here, so it was not a big deal to die together. However, Qing Tianqiu was different. He was the head of the Qing family in Songning. He was worried about the Qing family and did not want to stay here. As long as there was hope, he would fight for it. Moreover, in his opinion, since Xiao Chang and the others came back to find them, they were definitely not bad people. There was no harm in following them. Then we'll follow too. Emo Xiangyin gritted his teeth and said, follow us now? We can't follow them for nothing. Go carry that Xiao something. Xiaoqin said. He did not let Emo Xiangyin carry Qiao En's, so Qing Tianqiu had to carry him. Why should I carry him? Emo Xiangyin snorted. My son needs someone to carry him. Don't you have a wife? What does she do? Can't she carry him? Xiaoqin snorted coldly. Don't be so ungrateful. If you don't want to carry him, then stay here and don't follow me. You? Emo Xiangyin was somewhat annoyed. I'm just following you. What can you do to me? In this darkness, if I want to kill you, it's as easy as flipping my hand. Xiaoqin threatened indifferently. You. Emo Xiangyin's heart skipped a beat when he thought of Xiaoqin's fireball martial skill. Despite his reluctance, he still said, fine, I'll carry it. Qing Tianqiu originally wanted to carry Qiao En's on his back. No matter what, he had to take Qiao En's with him. He followed him here. If he died, even if they didn't blame him, the Qiao family wouldn't let it go. Qing Tianqiu pulled Qiao En's over and carefully handed him to Emo Xiangyin. Then Emo Xiangyin carried Qiao En's on his back while his wife Ma Xiaoying carried their son Emo Zhiqiu. Follow me and don't fall behind. If anyone falls behind, just say the word and we'll pull one by one. Xiaoqin said as he grabbed Song Huawu's hand. Song Huawu held Ling held Granny Nanshan, and Granny Nanshan held Xia Shibin. Then the others formed a long line. Only then did Xiaoqin walk forward. Apart from Xiaoqin, no one else would die here unless they had some kind of scanning equipment. But who would have prepared scanning equipment here? Even if they had, it would have been damaged when they fell into the pool, so it probably couldn't be used anymore, right? Xiaoqin surveyed his surroundings. This was an extremely large place that resembled an underground palace. It was very spacious and there were stone pillars in the middle supporting it. However, the vastness of this place made it difficult for people to get a clear sense of direction. The most confusing thing was that these stone pillars weren't built according to the rules. Instead, they were all crooked and rugged. If one couldn't see anything while walking among them, it was very likely that they would end up like a ghost walking on a wall. No matter how they walked, they still couldn't find their way out. They just didn't know where they were. However, Xiaoqin could see, so there was no problem of not being able to get out. However, as far as he could see, Xiaoqin couldn't see the end and didn't know which way to go. However, it would be easy to find the edge first. As he thought of this, Xiaoqin identified a direction and quickly led everyone forward. In the beginning, everyone just followed Xiaoqin all the way forward. However, as they walked and walked, Emo Xiangyin became a little worried. Young hero Xiao, can you get out? Why do I feel like there's no end even after walking so far? It's even further than when we walked through the long corridor above? If you don't believe me, then don't follow me, Xiaoqin said coldly. Emo Xiangyin hesitated for a moment and didn't say anything else. Xiaoqin continued to walk forward. Finally, after half an hour, they arrived at the edge of the underground palace. The edge here wasn't just a simple wall, but a passageway at regular intervals. There were many passageways. If one couldn't see them, even if they entered one, they would have to walk around inside and come out from another passageway. When they came out again, if they mistakenly thought that they had arrived at a new area and continued to wander around the underground palace, they would never be able to get out. However, the person who designed the underground palace might have left a corresponding number on each passageway for their own convenience. The passageway beside Xiaoqin had a large number 37 written on it, and below it was a small number 64. Xiao Qin guessed that this was passageway 37, and it led to passageway 64. In order to confirm his guess, Xiao Qin led everyone into this passageway. Everyone also felt that they had entered a passageway and thought that Xiao Qin had found the right exit, so they were a little excited. Of course, Xiao Qin didn't say much to them. After walking for a while, Xiao Qin came out of a passageway. He looked up and saw that it was indeed passageway 64. It seemed that his previous guess was right. These passageways were all connected. Since he had found the pattern, Xiao Qin just needed to find a passageway that wasn't marked as such to enter. Xiao Qin led everyone along the wall and continued forward. There were several times when Emo Xiangyin wanted to ask again, but he held back. Why would he ask if the others didn't? After walking for a while, Xiao Qin finally stopped and everyone followed suit. Emo Xiangyin asked, "What's wrong? Did we go the wrong way?" "You talk too much nonsense." Xiao Qin was in the middle of his joy, but he was annoyed when he heard Emo Xiangyin's words. "Are you going or not? If you're not, then F***ck off." Emo Xiangyin was stunned and quickly shut his mouth. "If I found it right, we can get out of this passageway." Xiao Qin looked at the symbol on the passageway in front of him. There was only a symbol and no number. Xiao Qin thought about it and walked in without hesitation. After turning a few rounds, a faint light appeared in front of him. When everyone saw this, they were a little excited. Light. It was actually light. It seemed that they had found the right place. "Young hero Xiao, have we found the right place?" Granny Nanshan was also a little surprised. Even she couldn't accurately pinpoint their position in the dark, but Xiao Qin could. Wasn't this too amazing? "It should be." Xiao Qin nodded. Because there was light, everyone didn't need to hold hands anymore. They could see the situation in front of them, so they all let go of each other. However, Xiao Qin could see, so it wasn't obvious when he came here in the dark. He didn't let go of Song Huawu, so he still held her hand and walked forward. Song Huawu blushed a little. Previously it could be said that she had no choice. It was fine if Xiao Qin held her hand, but now that there was light, why was Xiao Qin still holding her hand? She wanted to let go, but she was afraid that she would lose face if she let go of Xiao Qin, so she let Xiao Qin hold her hand and continued walking forward. Xia Shibin saw it, but he didn't say anything. He had long felt that there was something going on between Xiao Qin and Song Huawu. Otherwise, why wouldn't Xiao Qin change seats with Yang Tan? He would rather offend Yang Tan than agree? As for the others, they weren't that gossipy and had long ignored this situation. They were focused on getting out of here, so they didn't care about anything else. The further they went, the brighter it became. Finally, everyone saw the luminous pearls on both sides of the road. Moreover, since there was light, everyone could feel that the road was sloping. In other words, they might have reached the ruins from before and walked out of the underground palace. Everyone was a little excited. Qing Tianxiu was the happiest. He had been in despair before, but now that he was out, he felt that young hero Xiao Chang was really extraordinary. He was simply too amazing. From the corner of his eyes, he noticed that Xiao Qin was holding Song Huawu's small hand. Qing Tianxiu was stunned for a moment before a smile flashed across his mouth. Looking at Song Huawu's shy and awkward look, Qing Tianxiu thought that Xiao Chang wanted to take advantage of Song Huawu, and Song Huawu couldn't say anything. And it seems like he's a person who likes beauties. I wonder if he's interested in Qing Minjing? I have to properly investigate this Xiao Chang's background. This person isn't an ordinary person. However, as the crowd walked forward, they suddenly heard a faint sound coming from the front. This caused them to be instantly shocked. There's someone in front? Who could it be? Logically speaking, if there was someone in the ancient ruins, it could only be Qin Xinyang. However, how could there be such fighting sounds when Qin Xinyang was alone? What was going on? Could there be other people? Everyone consciously stopped talking and walked forward carefully. They wanted to find out what was going on. Everyone was a cautious person, so it was impossible for them to casually make a sound and expose themselves. As they walked forward, finally, at the entrance of the passage in front of them, a place that looked like an inquiry appeared. Xiao Qin looked from afar. This wasn't the hall from before. This was because just the color of the floor and the carvings in the hall were different. Everyone came to the exit of the passage, but they didn't walk out. Under Xiao Qian's signal, they just stood at the entrance of the passage and looked out carefully. They only saw that not far away Qin Xinyang was standing in front of a stone door, breaking an array. She threw small flags in different directions at the stone door. Then with her other hand she kept attacking the stone door with martial arts. Chapter 514. Xiao Qin took a closer look. This time, Qin Xinyang did not seem to be throwing the small flags randomly like before. Instead, she was throwing the formation flags into the formation in front of the stone door one by one in a systematic manner. Elder Heaven Ancestor, can she break the formation by herself? Xiao Qin asked curiously. It looks like it's possible. What she knows is definitely not the superficial knowledge she had before. She's actually proficient in some formation techniques. Although she's not particularly proficient, she does know a thing or two. From the direction in which she threw the flags, it can be seen that she's constantly weakening the formation's energy. In this way she can completely break the formation by herself. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. No wonder. Xiao Qin said. This Qin Xinyang dared to directly bring them into the underground palace, leaving her alone. Presumably she has a way to break the formation by herself. However, it's more complicated and laborious. If she could get some free labor, she naturally wouldn't be happy. Previously she had separated everyone, killed one group and left the other group alive. This was to leave some free labor. Based on Qin Xinyang's vicious nature, even if they didn't go looking for Claydin, she would still find an opportunity to kill them after they helped her break the formation. Mo Xiangyin's eyes were bloodshot. He didn't know whether his son was alive or dead. He also didn't know whether he could survive and leave the ruins. Therefore, when he saw his enemy Qin Xinyang, he wanted to rush out and fight her. However, Xiao Qin waved his hand, telling him not to be impulsive. He mouthed a hint, wait until she breaks the formation first. Xiao Qin certainly wouldn't let go of such free labor. This Qin Xinyang wanted to use them as laborers. How could Xiao Qin not have the same idea? Finally, a loud bang came from the formation in front of the stone door. Qin Xinyang was so scared that she hurriedly dodged. Obviously, the formation had been broken by her. On the other side, Mo Xiangyin, who was standing beside Xiao Qin, had already reached the end of his patience. He abandoned Xiao En's and rushed out, shouting, Qin Xinyang, you be asterisk, hand over your life. Qin Xinyang was stunned for a moment. Her footsteps slowed down. As a result, the energy from the explosion of the formation directly affected her, causing her to fly out with a bang. She spat out a mouthful of blood and fell heavily to the ground. Why aren't you dead? Qin Xinyang turned her head and stared at Mo Xiangyin and the others in shock. It would have been fine if it was just Mo Xiangyin, but Granny Nanshan, Xiao Chang, and the others had all walked out of the passageway and were staring at her coldly. Are you surprised? Qin Xinyang, I didn't expect it to be you who schemed to kill us. Xiao Qin had a good impression of her before. At the very least, he thought she was better than the other person Claydin had found. But now it seemed that she was a bad person. I really didn't expect you to still be alive. Qin Xinyang decided to shed all pretense of cordiality. However, you can't kill me. You still need my help to break the formation. Otherwise, you won't be able to enter or leave. Without me, you will die. Mo Xiangyin, kill her. Xiao Qin said coldly. All right. Mo Xiangyin pulled out his sword and stabbed it into Qin Xinyang's chest. She had been seriously injured from breaking the formation, so she didn't even have time to counterattack or dodge. She had already become a ghost under Mo Xiangyin's sword. Qin Xinyang still had a look of disbelief on her face before she died. She didn't believe that Xiao Chang had really asked someone to kill her. Without her, how would they get out? How would they break the formation? How was that possible? She had died with everlasting regret. That's right, young hero Xiao. Without Qin Xinyang, would we be able to get out? Qing Qianqiu suddenly remembered the key problem. Qin Xinyang was right. They didn't know how to break the formation. Don't you understand how you got up here? Is there a need for her? Xiao Qin said coldly. That's right. Young hero Xiao is also proficient in these things. No wonder. Then we really don't need this vicious woman anymore. It's good that she's dead so that she won't harm us again. Qing Qianqiu nodded in relief as he thought about how Xiao Chang had led them out of the underground palace without a hitch. Mo Xiangyin was infuriated. After he had killed someone, he regretted it a little. However, after hearing Xiao Chang's words, he calmed down. Young hero Xiao, don't worry. The few of us will follow your lead. When we find a good treasure, you can pick it first. As for the rest, you can decide how you want to split it. We won't have any complaints. Although I, Mo Xiangyin, am an arrogant person, I know how to repay kindness. Killing Qin Xinyang will make me very happy. That's right. We will listen to young hero Xiao. Claydin hurriedly agreed. In his opinion, his great-grandson-in-law would not mistreat him. We don't need our spiritual jades. We will give them to young hero Xiao. Grandma Nanshan said. We, the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, also support young hero Xiao. Song Huawu said. Haha, I naturally have nothing to say. Cheng Qianqiu wanted Xiao Chang to be his grandson-in-law, so he naturally wouldn't say anything. Furthermore, with so many people supporting Xiao Chang, there was no point in declaring it himself. All right. Xia Shibin, bring Qin Xinyang's backpack over. I have a use for it. Since everyone had decided, there were naturally no objections. Xiao Qin looked at the broken stone door and walked in. The Elder Heaven Ancestor hadn't said anything about danger here. No problem. Xia Shibin picked up Qin Xinyang's backpack and carried it on his back. Everyone followed Xiao Qin inside. Grandma Nanshan was a little puzzled. Young hero Xiao, we have already passed through 2 halls. Why haven't we seen any treasures? If I'm not wrong, this relic should be the warehouse of a big sect or family in ancient times. There should have been something in the 2 halls that we passed through before, but it was taken away by the people who came here first. Xiao Qin thought for a moment and said, if I'm not wrong, we aren't the only ones who have been to these ruins. Several groups of people have come before and some even died in the abyss. As for Qin Xinyang, she should have obtained some information from the people who came here before. That's why she knows about these ruins so well. So that's how it is. In other words, there should be treasures in those 2 halls, but the treasures have already been taken away. Is that so? Ling asked after listening. Yes, of course, it's just a guess. Otherwise, it's impossible for there to be nothing. Xiao Qin said. After these formations are broken, they have an automatic recovery effect. After a period of time, they will automatically accumulate energy and return to their previous state. Therefore, even if they have been broken before, they still need to be broken again before we come here. If all the formations have been broken, then wouldn't our trip be in vain? Clayton asked with some disappointment. That's right, but I hope that's not the case, Xiao Qin said. Yeah, I hope that's not the case. Mo Xiangyin also nodded. After they passed through the passage, they saw another hall in front of them. However, this hall was different from the previous one. There were several boxes and shelves on both sides of the hall. Everyone was pleasantly surprised and quickly walked over to take a look. Xiao Qin didn't stop them because there didn't seem to be any mechanism here. The mechanism in the passage probably wasn't caused by Xiao En's looking at the treasure box, but by Qin Xinyang. Otherwise, why would Xiao Qin fall down the second time? Sure enough, when everyone opened the lids of the boxes and the doors of the shelves, nothing out of the ordinary happened. However, to everyone's disappointment, there was nothing here. The boxes were empty and the shelves were also empty. It seems that someone has taken it away. Cheng Qianqiu said disappointedly. Could it be that these ancient ruins are simply a lie and are empty? It's hard to say. Xiao Qin combined Qin Xinyang's situation with the white bones he saw in the underground palace. He had already determined that someone had been here, so it wasn't too surprising that there was nothing here. In this hall, there was still a stone door, and in front of the stone door was another formation. However, this time Xiao Qin didn't let everyone attack it. Instead, he let Xia Shibin take Qin Xinyang's backpack. Xiao Qin looked inside and saw a bag of formation flags and a map. The map depicted the situation of the ruins. To Xiao Qin's relief, the map only drew up to this point. In front of the stone door there were a few question marks. It was probably because the people who came here before didn't break the formation to open the stone door. On the side, there were some papers that recorded Qin Xinyang's analysis on how to break the stone door. This wasn't of much use to Xiao Qin. It seemed that Qin Xinyang deliberately used everyone as cannon fodder, but she didn't want to die here. She really deserved to be unlucky. Elder Heaven Ancestor, how do I break this formation? Xiao Qin asked shamelessly. I said do it. Elder Heaven Ancestor didn't talk nonsense. Sometimes he really didn't know how to deal with such a disciple. Everyone stay away from the side. I'm going to break the formation. Xiao Qin said in a very arrogant manner. You can break the formation by yourself? That's too amazing. Young Master Chang is so powerful. Xia Shibin flattered. He was used to flattering Yang Tan, so it was natural for him to do so. Mo Xiangyin glanced at Xia Shibin and thought to himself. This Supernatural Investigation Bureau is also flattering Xiao Chang, really? But thinking about it, this Xiao Chang is really amazing. Everyone was able to escape because of him. Xiao Qin followed Elder Heaven Ancestor's instructions and slowly threw the formation flags into the formation in front of the stone door. The direction, order, and timing of the formation flags were very particular. If there was a single mistake, the whole thing would be useless. However, with a super expert like Elder Heaven Ancestor around, Xiaochen only had to do as he was told. Soon, a loud bang came from the stone door and it slowly rose. The formation was broken. Young hero Xiaochang is really amazing, Clayden said sincerely. This kind of person was actually Xin Jingshuan's boyfriend. He didn't know why her great-granddaughter had such good taste. Qing Tianxiu's eyes also lit up. If this kind of person could have a relationship with the Qing family, it would be easy for the Qing family to gain a foothold in Songning. Chapter 515. Needless to say, Mo Xiangyin had always felt that Xiaochen was very powerful. As for Grandma Nanshan, she was already numb to it. If Xiaochen could heal her injuries, what else couldn't he do? Song Huawu was a little surprised. She hadn't expected Xiaochen, a descendant of the Xiao family, to learn all these things. Not only did he know how to treat illnesses, disguise himself and break arrays. Xiaochen walked into the passageway and the others followed behind him. The passageway was the same as before, but everyone was a little excited. This was where Qin Xinyang's map ended. There might be something good up ahead. Finally, everyone arrived at a large hall. Just like before, there were several boxes and shelves stacked around the hall. Everyone walked over and opened the doors of the boxes and shelves. They all let out excited cheers. Although Xiaochen didn't go over, he guessed that there must be something here. Qin Xinyang's map should have been drawn by someone in recent years. Perhaps Qin Xinyang herself had already been here once with others. So until now, no one should have touched the rest of the map. Young hero Xiao, there's something good here. Come and take a look. Mo Xiangyin said loudly. Although there was something good, everyone consciously didn't touch it. They waited for Xiaochen to come over and distribute it. Xiaochen walked over and looked at the contents of the boxes. The first box contained a few weapons, the second was gold and silver, and among them, there was something that made Xiaochen excited. It was the spiritual jade. As for the third box, it was completely empty. At the bottom of the box, there was only something that looked like ash. Xiaochen took a closer look and understood. The box probably contained some spiritual herbs or something similar. However, it was way too old. Furthermore, they didn't pay much attention to preservation methods. If they were left in the box, they would have decomposed and evaporated after a long time. There should be some medicinal herbs in this box. They have all decomposed. Everyone take a look and distribute the rest. Xiaochen said. The spiritual jade should be given to Grandma Nanshan. Does anyone have any objections? Everyone shook their heads. Apart from being valuable, this thing wasn't very useful to them. Granny Nanshan didn't refuse. She asked Ling to find all the spirit jades in the treasure chest and put them away. As for the chest of gold and silver, Xiaochen looked at it and said, Old Master Qing, your main purpose for coming here is actually for these things, right? Yes. Qing Tianqiu blushed a little and said, Xiao En's told me that I can make a fortune here. Alright, these jewels are yours. Xiaochen said, As for Mo Xiangyin, I saw that you used a sword. Your family should be martial artists or martial masters who are proficient in using weapons, right? Yes, young hero Xiao, you've noticed. Mo Xiangyin nodded. Then you can choose the weapons here. Song Hua Wu will bring the rest back to report. Xiaochen said. Thank you, young hero Xiao. Mo Xiangyin was overjoyed. His purpose for coming here was to get a suitable weapon for his son and wife. He didn't expect to achieve his goal so easily. Everyone was satisfied with their items. However, Song Hua Wu suddenly looked at Xiaochen and asked, You've divided everything. What do you want? That's right. Everyone looked at Xiaochen and felt a little embarrassed. They had each gotten what they wanted, but Xiaochen had nothing. This wasn't the case. They were greedy, but without Xiaochen, they would have been dead long ago and wouldn't have been able to enter this place. If they all got something good and Xiaochen got nothing, they would feel guilty. Isn't there a cabinet here? Let me take a look at the things in the cabinet first. Xiaochen said with a smile, I don't really need these. Xiaochen wasn't short of money, and Grandma Nanshan was the one who got the spiritual jades for him. As for the weapons, Xiaochen couldn't use them. He was a cultivator. Even if he wanted to use weapons, he would need to refine them himself. Ordinary weapons weren't of much use to him. Alright, young hero Xiao, open it and take a look. Grandma Nanshan said. Xiaochen opened the cabinet door and saw a few books and boxes inside. Xiaochen first picked up the books inside and flipped through them. 5 Poison Secrets? Xiaochen saw a booklet called 5 Poison Secrets. Was this the book that Xia Qingyi wanted? Xiaochen was a little surprised. He didn't expect there to be such a book here. After thinking about it, he didn't directly hand it over to Song Huawu. It was true that Xia Qingyi had sent him a message, but don't forget that Yang Tan was currently in charge of Songning City. Only Song Huawu and Xia Shibin had come to this ancient tomb. He was Xiao Chong. However, after thinking about it, if he didn't hand it over, Xia Qingyi would definitely be suspicious if he said that he didn't see the message because he wasn't familiar with this phone. How could Yang Tan not see the message? When the Supernatural Investigation Bureau issued missions, many of them were conveyed through this mobile phone short message. Moreover, Xia Qingyi had specially reminded Song Huawu that he had sent him a message so that Song Huawu could ask him. Song Huawu might have known that he would come, so she told him about it. However, it wasn't that easy for Xiao Chen to secretly obtain the 5 poison secrets. He decided to go back and make a copy first before giving it to Xia Qingyi. At least he could exchange it for some cultivation resources, right? If he couldn't use it, it would be good to give it to Song Huawu. Looking at her pitiful and bitter face, it was obvious that she couldn't get many cultivation resources in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. The other 2 books surprised Xiao Chen. One of them was called 10,000 Poison Scripture, and the other was called Detoxification Scripture. Xiao Chen roughly flipped through them. One of them was about poisoning, and the other was about detoxification. They were 2 rare good books. Thinking of the 5 poison secrets, could the original owner of this ancient ruin be a master who was good at using poison? Xiao Chen put the 3 books directly into his arms and said, "I want these 3 books." When Xiao Chen flipped through them, the others didn't see them clearly either. They only saw something about poison written on the cover. It was probably a martial arts mental cultivation method or something like that. However, everyone had their own mental cultivation methods and martial arts techniques, so they didn't need anything else. They didn't ask much if Xiao Chen wanted them, and they were too embarrassed to ask. They all nodded to indicate that Xiao Chen didn't mind. Xiao Chen looked at the other things on the shelf. Apart from the 3 books, there were 4 small boxes. Xiao Chen opened one of them and a fragrance immediately filled the air. There was a pill inside, but he didn't know what it was. Therefore, Xiao Chen handed it to Granny Nanshan and said, "Granny Nanshan, take a look and see what this is." Granny Nanshan took it and looked at it. However, she shook her head and said, "This pill is extremely fragrant and bright, but I don't know what it's used for. I saw that the 3 books you took earlier were all related to poison. This pill might be poisonous, or it could be used to cultivate those poison manuals. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to use it so easily. If it's poisonous, that would be terrible." Mo Xiangyin also came over to take a look, but he also hadn't seen it before. He shook his head and said, "I haven't seen it either, but we warriors can't take it easily if we don't recognize it. There might not be any reaction at the time, so it might be a slow-acting poison. Those are supplementary pills for cultivating the 5 poison secrets. You should keep them." The Elder Heaven Ancestor's words rang in Xiao Chen's ears. Xiao Chen was stunned. He didn't expect the Elder Heaven Ancestor to recognize this thing. However, since the Elder Heaven Ancestor recognized it, Xiao Chen said calmly, "In that case, I will take it back to study it. I'll take these things." As Xiao Chen spoke, he put away the 4 small boxes. Naturally, no one had any objections. In fact, they did not even have any intention of coveting them. Which martial artist would exchange their martial arts mental cultivation technique for no reason? It was the same for martial techniques. If one wanted to study a martial technique thoroughly, it would take years or even decades. It was fine for Xiao Chen to collect those things or give them to cultivators who had just started cultivating. However, experts like them would not be able to use them. Granny Nanshan was the same. In her sect's sutra depository, there were countless martial techniques and cultivation techniques. However, there was a limit to one's manpower. It was impossible to cultivate all of them, so she hadn't taken a look. "I didn't expect there to be only these things." Qing Qianxiu was a little disappointed. He had thought that there would be something priceless. Although these gold and silver treasures were valuable, it would be good if they could be sold for tens of millions. If they were antiques, they could be sold for hundreds of millions. However, it was still a far cry from what he had imagined. As for the other things, they had all been divided up. He had no way to ask for them. He only felt a little regretful. It was the same for the others. Even though they had gotten what they wanted, they still felt that it was really. However, it seemed that this was the last hall. There were no other stone doors. Everyone could only go back the way they came. It was impossible to go any further. Fortunately, the last hall was not broken. Otherwise, everyone would have nothing left and could only return empty-handed. Elder Heaven Ancestor, should we go back the way we came? Xiaochen asked. No, since Qin Xinyang dared to put you all to death, she definitely wouldn't go back the way she came. Her strength is limited. Breaking the formation of these stone doors was already her limit. If she were to go back the way she came, especially the formation at the entrance, she wouldn't be able to do it. Elder Heaven Ancestor said with some doubt, there must be another way out. In other words, this shouldn't be the end of the ruins. Then, but there's no way out? Xiaochen asked curiously. If I'm not wrong, there should be a stone door in the last hall. It's just that this is a concealment array that hides the entrance of the stone door. We can't see it from a normal angle. Elder Sky said. Chapter 5:16. So, you can't feel it? Xiaochen asked. If I was here, I should be able to feel it. Elder Sky said, but now of course I can't feel it. Or, I should be able to take over your body. But this is an extremely wasteful method of primordial spirit, soul, and divine sense. If I were to release my divine sense outside, I would fall asleep again very soon. All right. Xiaochen said. Forget it, if Elder Heaven Ancestor fell asleep here, he would be at a loss. Is there any other way? It's not that there isn't. You let everyone hold a formation flag, and then in this hall, each person will be divided into an area, and then according to the method I said, throw the formation flag in that area. If the formation flag falls, then pick it up and throw it in another direction. When the formation flag disappears, that place is the location of the hidden formation. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. That works? Then I will try it. Xiaochen listened and quickly said, you tell me the throwing method. Elder Heaven Ancestor and Xiaochen explained the method. Xiaochen said to everyone, if my guess is correct, this place should not be the end, this ancient ruin should still be able to go forward. Or we can directly go out or go to another hall. Really? Ling looked at Xiaochen with some surprise. This Xiaochen is too amazing, right? Why does it seem like there is nothing he doesn't know? Others also looked at him in surprise. Xiaochen's skin was thick. Otherwise, if it was a thin-skinned person, they would have already been embarrassed to take Elder Heaven Ancestor's discovery as their own. That's right. Now, I'm going to tell you how to find the concealment formation. I'm going to give each of you a small flag. Then, follow my instructions. Each of you occupy an area in the hall and start throwing the small flags. If the small flags disappear for no reason, inform me immediately. Xiaochen said to everyone. Okay, no problem. Everyone agreed after listening to him. A concealment array formation was easier said than done. It was possible to discover it in one spot, but in other locations, no matter how many array flags you threw, it would be impossible to discover its existence. Everyone began to search for the concealment array according to Xiaochen's instructions. This was a job that required patience, but the thing that martial artists lacked the least was patience. Everyone began to search back and forth in their respective areas. 4 to 5 hours later, Song Hua Wu finally screamed. Everyone looked over and saw Song Hua Wu pointing to an empty space in front of her. She said happily, here, right here. Xiaochen quickly ran over and looked in the direction that Song Hua Wu was pointing. There was nothing special there, but Song Hua Wu's array flag had disappeared. Xiaochen squatted down and said, is it here? Yes, it's here. Song Hua Wu nodded. I did as you said. I threw the array flag here and disappeared. Okay. Xiaochen reached out his hand and touched the ground. Then he threw the array flags in his hand out one by one. The speed was very fast. Because he was a cultivator, his 6 senses were sharp, and he could control the direction and strength very well. Soon, a round thing that looked like a teleportation point appeared on the ground that emitted blue light. This made the people present couldn't help but be amazed. It was truly too miraculous. Xiaochen seemed to have casually thrown out a few formation flags, and a teleportation point appeared on the ground. This is. Although everyone had already guessed that it might be something similar to a teleportation point, they still asked. After all, no one had seen this thing before. Even if they had seen it, it was on TV. This is a teleportation array. It has been activated. It was originally hidden. Xiaochen said, we may be teleported to other places when we enter the teleportation array, but I don't know exactly where we will be teleported to. It doesn't matter. I'll give it a try. Clayden immediately said eagerly. Everyone else had gotten something, but he didn't have anything that suited him. He casually took one of the remaining weapons that Mo Xiangyin had picked, and the rest went to Song Huawu. However, he still wanted to see if there were any other good things here. After all, there were too few things in the ruins. Most of them had probably been taken away by the people who had been here before. They had only made a soup base. Where are the others? Xiao Chen asked. Naturally, we'll go take a look. Mo Xiangyi knew that if he didn't follow Xiao Chen, he wouldn't even be able to get out. Therefore, even if it was a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, he still had to make a trip. Going back by himself would be equivalent to being trapped here until he died. Granny Nanshan looked at Xiao Chen strangely and asked, "You're actually so proficient in array formations?" "It's all right." Xiao Chen smiled. "Granny Nanshan, would you like to come and take a look?" "All right." Granny Nanshan nodded as she looked at Xiao Chen. No one knew what she was thinking. Song Huawu and Xia Shibin naturally followed Xiao Chen. Only Qing Tianqiu was a little hesitant, but he still made a decision. "Let's go." Xiao Chen was the first to enter the teleportation array. The Elder Heaven Ancestor had said that this teleportation array was a two-way teleportation array. In other words, even if they failed, they could still return. It wasn't a big deal. Upon seeing Xiao Chen enter, the others also followed. Song Huawu was second, Xia Shibin was third, and the rest followed. Xiao Chen was the first to step out of the teleportation array. When he saw the scene before him, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. The land beneath his feet was very serene. Birds were chirping and flowers were fragrant. Not far away, a large field that looked like a farm came into view. However, upon closer inspection, this wasn't a farm field, but a herb garden. It was similar to Yi Xiaoya's flower garden. As the others walked out one after another, they were also stunned by the scene before them. Where is this? Why was there such a beautiful scene of birds chirping and flowers blooming? It's already early winter. Why is it so warm here? Song Huawu asked curiously. Indeed, when they heard Song Huawu's words, the others finally reacted. This place was as warm as spring and filled with the warmth of nature. Are all the treasures in front of us? Clayton was a little excited. These were the things he wanted the most. Previously, the medicinal herbs that Xiao Chen had given him had allowed him to reach the half-step martial master realm. However, he still hadn't broken through to become a martial master. If he had enough spiritual herbs, he would be able to make a breakthrough in one go. When the crowd arrived in front of the herb garden, Clayton rushed over impatiently. This is the golden silver lotus, this is the maku vine, this is the 1,000 jade ganoderma fruit, and this is... The others also crowded around, their eyes filled with envy and greed. These were all medicinal herbs that were very useful to martialists, so everyone was very happy about them. However, even Clayton didn't stretch out his hand to pick them. Instead, he turned to Xiao Chen and asked hesitantly, "Young hero Xiao, how should we split the herbs in this herb garden?" "I'll pick a few that I need first. You can split the rest among yourselves," Xiao Chen said without hesitation. He wasn't greedy. There were many medicinal herbs here, so he couldn't just take them all by himself. Furthermore, he didn't need them all anyway. "All right, I agree." Clayton agreed without hesitation. "I have no objections either." Song Huawu and Xia Shibin chimed in. The others agreed as well. Xiao Chen didn't stand on ceremony. He entered the herb garden and started picking. He didn't just pick everything, but he would take whatever the Elder Heaven Ancestor asked him to. Take these stalks of exquisite heart-devouring grass, take these 2,000 crossing golden core fruits, and this, that. The Elder Heaven Ancestor instructed, and Xiao Chen took the herbs. However, what surprised everyone was that Xiao Chen only picked herbs that they didn't recognize, or rather, they didn't know what they were for. Even Granny Nanshan couldn't understand Xiao Chen's intentions. Many of the medicinal herbs he took weren't practical, so they didn't know what to do with them. As for the other medicinal ingredients, Xiao Chen picked a few that were completely matured and had already lost their medicinal effects. If others saw them, they wouldn't think that Xiao Chen was greedy because the only use for these overripe medicinal ingredients was to use them as seeds. Not everyone could cultivate medicinal herbs. Most people didn't have the ability, not even Granny Nanshan. Therefore no one fought with Xiao Chen over them. Yi Xiaoya could cultivate medicinal herbs because of her talent. If everyone could cultivate medicinal herbs, there wouldn't be a shortage of medicinal herbs. Xiao Chen's method of using vital energy to cultivate medicinal herbs was too unique and impossible to replicate. "Alright, this is all I want. You can split the rest among yourselves." Xiao Chen walked out and said, "Clayton didn't get anything he wanted before. Let him take more." "This isn't very appropriate. Young hero Xiao, why don't you take more?" Clayton was a little embarrassed. "I don't need that much. You guys go ahead." Xiao Chen waved his hand. Even Granny Nanshan was green with envy when she saw so many spiritual herbs. Even she didn't expect Xiao Qian to be so generous. Previously she was still thinking that even if Xiao Qian took all of these things she would still support him. Xiao Qian was her savior. Moreover, if she could rope Xiao Qian in, he might be of great use when the time came. However, she didn't expect Xiao Qian to be so generous and leave so many good things for everyone. Everyone was very touched. They felt that Xiao Qian was much better than Qin Xinyang. Qin Xinyang had schemed to get rid of them and monopolize all the good things, while Xiao Qian clearly had the opportunity to monopolize them, but he didn't do so. However, since Xiao Qian was so determined, everyone entered the medicinal herb garden and began to harvest the medicinal herbs. However, perhaps because of Xiao Qian, everyone was very modest. No one dared to go back on their promise. Everyone was afraid that Xiao Qian wouldn't take them away. One had to know that Xiao Qian was proficient in spell formations. If Qin Xinyang could easily frame them, then Xiao Qian could probably do the same. Chapter 517. Very soon the herb garden had been completely harvested. However, everyone was very well behaved and didn't fight over them. Furthermore, there were some medicinal herbs that were too ripe that were left behind. They were left there instead of harvesting them. Xiao Qian took a look and hesitated for a moment. In the end, he still went forward and plucked the remaining overripe medicinal herbs. He did not need to cultivate the medicinal herbs here. He could bring them back. As long as he had essence, it would be easy to cultivate them. Are you going to harvest these seeds and bring them back? Granny Nanshan looked at Xiao Qian and asked curiously, if they stay here and grow, can't they be harvested again in the future? Let's not talk about whether I will have the chance to come again next time. Even if I do, others might be one step ahead of me. It's safer to bring them back. Besides, I know someone who can cultivate spiritual herbs. Xiao Qian didn't mention himself. Instead, he mentioned someone else so that he wouldn't appear too different. I see. I was overthinking. Granny Nanshan nodded and said, then should we go back the way we came or, according to my observations if I'm not wrong, this place is actually an array formation. We are inside this array formation. This is the back mountain of the Immortal Resort. However, it is enveloped by a large array formation that can gather the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to nurture these spiritual herbs, Xiao Qian said. This is how the warm climate here is formed. That can't be right? Clayton said, before this I ran all over the back of the mountain, but I didn't find this herb garden. Moreover, this herb garden is open air. We can see the sunlight from here, which proves that this place is connected to the outside world. How could the satellite map not be able to find this place? This is the beauty of an array formation, Xiao Qian said. The array formation hides the entire herb garden. Although this array formation has the effect of gathering the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, it is not only a spiritual energy gathering array formation but also a large concealment array formation. Therefore it can't be seen from the outside. Is it that amazing? Clayton was surprised. Let me look for an exit first, Xiao Qian said with a smile. When it came to finding an exit, no one else could help. Xiao Qian could only rely on himself. This herb garden wasn't big. While Xiao Qian was looking for the exit, everyone wandered around the vicinity. However, they were surprised to find that this herb garden seemed to be connected to the surrounding forest, but in fact they couldn't get out when they reached the edge. It was as if there was an invisible barrier that was blocking them. When they walked here they were blocked just like the array in front of the stone door. It's really miraculous. These ancient powerhouses were actually able to set up such an awesome array. Xia Shibin clicked his tongue in wonder. This formation can actually be broken by brute force. It's just that it will take a lot of effort. Xiao Qian said, if we find the array door we can leave smoothly. The designer must have designed it this way. Everyone nodded and pinned their hopes on Xiao Qian. The array door of this array wasn't easy to find. Even with the help of the Elder Heaven Ancestor, Xiao Qian still wasted a lot of energy. Finally, he stopped at the edge of the array and began to throw array flags around. Slowly, a blue circle similar to the one in the hall appeared in front of Xiao Qian. Everyone was a little excited. They didn't expect Xiao Qian to actually find the array door. He was much more reliable than Qin Xinyang. Alright, let's go out. After Xiao Qian said that, he entered the teleportation point. The people behind him didn't stop and followed him. In the next moment, Xiao Qian and the others stood on the mountain that was similar to the one before. However, a chill hit them and the temperature had returned to normal. It wasn't as warm as before. We're out. The place we were at just now seems to be similar to this place. However, there isn't a herb garden here? Ling Er looked around and said with some surprise, Isn't this supposed to be a herb garden? But there isn't. When everyone heard Ling Er's words, they also looked over. Indeed, the environment here was extremely similar to before. The terrain was completely the same. However, the place where the herb garden should have been had turned into a grassland. The temperature was also not as warm as before. That's it. Before we were inside the array. Now we're outside the array. Those things are hidden by the array so we can't see or touch them. Xiaoqin said, Actually, you can just imagine that we were in a fourth-dimensional parallel space. If we didn't find the array door, people outside would never be able to enter. Is the array door under our feet? Ling Er asked. Yes, but it's useless if we can't find it and open it. Xiaoqin said, Even if you stand here, you can't enter. It's really magical. Ling Er couldn't help but sigh. Master, why have all these people who were proficient in array formations been lost? Many ancient magical powers have been lost with the passage of time. This is inevitable. We humans have also created modern technology, which was something that ancient times didn't have. It wasn't like now, where technological information was shared. In the past, only masters and disciples knew about it. If a master didn't accept a disciple before he died, or if the disciple's aptitude wasn't good, then the knowledge would be lost. Granny Nanshan said. Alright, let's part ways here. Xiaoqin said. Although there aren't too many good treasures in these ruins, everyone's harvest is still decent. If there's such an opportunity in the future, we can still cooperate. I'm all ears, young hero Xiao. Emo Xiangyin said with cupped fists. This old man is following young hero Xiao to gain experience. Cheng Tianxiu chuckled and said, Young hero Xiao, I wonder if you can leave me a way to contact you? If you have time, I'll invite you to the Cheng family for a drink. Give me your contact number. I'll look for you when I'm free. Xiaoqin thought about it and said. With his identity as Xiao Chong, he hadn't bought a new SIM card, so he couldn't give it to Cheng Tianxiu for the time being. Alright. Cheng Tianxiu took out a business card from his pocket and handed it to Xiao Chen. Shen Hongjian glanced at Cheng Tianxiu and knew that it wasn't a good thing when he saw the latter's flirtatious look. He had asked Xiao Chen if he was married before, so he was probably tempted. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. Xiao Chen's engagement was broken off by the Cheng family, and he still wanted to get back? Did you guys always take all the good things? Didn't you think it was possible? However, when he thought about it, Xiao Chen seemed to have been living in Cheng Menjing's villa after he and Shen Jingshen got together. It seemed possible. He was a little worried that Xiao Chen wouldn't abandon Shen Jingshen because of the Cheng family's girl. Young hero Xiao is very busy. Old Cheng, don't bother him. He doesn't have time to look for you for a drink. Shen Hongjian said. What does it have to do with you? Cheng Tianxiu glared. Don't think that I'm afraid of you just because you're from the Shen family of Jianghu. In my eyes, you're nothing. Our strength is about the same. Our Cheng family is not to be trifled with. That's not what I meant. I mean, young hero Xiao is busy. Shen Hongjian said. Alright, Clayton. If I have time, why not visit the Cheng family? In reality, Xiao Chen really wanted to visit the Cheng family. From the way he saw it, Cheng Tianxiu probably had nothing to do with the matter of him and his father. He was actually tricked by Qiao Ens to come here to make a fortune. The Cheng family's background was probably not deep. Otherwise, they wouldn't be interested in these treasures. If there really was a powerful force supporting the Cheng family, would Cheng Tianxiu lack these things? But could it be that Cheng Mingxiang acted on his own? But he didn't have that much power. It was probably Cheng Zhongfan. Shen Hongjian saw that Xiao Chen had said so and didn't say anything else. He thought to himself, sure enough, Xiao Chen likes Cheng Menjing. Everyone parted ways here. Grandma Nanshan didn't say much and left with Ling Er. They had already agreed to send the spiritual jades to Little Hong's pharmacy, so there was no need to give them to Xiao Chen in person. Cheng Tianxiu left with Qiao Ens on his back. Mo Xiangyin's family also left. Clayton saw that the two people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau hadn't left yet. He knew that they definitely knew about Xiao Chen's identity. After all, Song Huawu had helped Xiao Chen back then. Xiao Chen, are you okay? I heard that Yang Tan didn't die. Why hasn't your arrest warrant been lifted? Clayton asked. It's hard to say. We'll have to wait and see. Xiao Chen didn't say much. Old Master Shen, did Jingshen contact you? She did. She said that she's doing well in the sect. The elders in Hongzhu's sect value her very much. It's just that she's focused on cultivation and doesn't have much time to contact her family, Clayton said. She hasn't persisted in cultivating since she was young. Now she has fallen behind too much. She has to work hard to make the best use of her time. It's good that she's fine. Tell her that I'm fine too. Don't worry about me. Xiaoqin said. When I have time, I'll visit her. Okay. Clayton nodded and said, oh right, that old thing Qing Tianxiu. Why did you still care about him when he broke off the engagement with you? Menjing has always been good to me. I'll do it for Menjing's sake. Xiaoqin knew what Clayton was thinking, so he said, you don't have to worry about these things. Jingxin didn't say anything either. Okay, then I won't talk about it. Clayton nodded. I'll take my leave then. I'll go back to the Shen family first. After saying goodbye to Clayton, Xiaoqin, Song Huawu, and Xia Shibin also left together. When they returned to Song Huawu's house, Xiaoqin also returned to his original appearance. Song Huawu liked to be clean, so she went to take a shower first. Xiaoqin, are you going to take a shower or not? Song Huawu walked out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around her. Her body was still steaming. Her originally capable appearance looked a little gentle and beautiful. Although she had short hair, there was another kind of beauty to her. Xiaoqin looked at Song Huawu. His heart was slightly moved, but he quickly suppressed his naughty thoughts. He didn't have dirty thoughts to do anything to Song Huawu. Song Huawu had been helping him, and taking him in was already good enough. Chapter 518. Why are you looking at me? Song Huawu noticed that Xiaoqin was staring at her. She was slightly stunned and immediately said, do you really think of yourself as Yang Tan? Let me tell you, don't think too much. I'm going to take a shower. Xiaoqin nodded and got up to go to the bathroom. As the shower hit his body, Xiaoqin's previous thoughts dissipated a lot. He began to think about his future. With his current strength, although martial artists were basically no match for him, and he could even easily defeat low-level martial artists, facing a behemoth like the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, Xiaoqin still couldn't resist at all. Xia Jili, this bastard, still didn't cancel the wanted order. Now that he was Yang Tan, it was even more impossible for him to remind them about this matter. That would expose him. It was really a bit depressing. Fortunately, he had the identity of Yang Tan first, and the identity of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau was still good. By the time Xiaoqin came out of the shower, Song Huawu had already returned to her room to rest. The exploration of the ancient ruins was quite tiring. Xiaoqin didn't wake her up and went straight to his room. He took out his harvest from the ancient ruins and began to study it. DD. Just as Xiaoqin was about to study the 5 Poison Secrets book, his cell phone's text message notification sounded. He picked it up and saw that it was sent by Yi Xiaoya. Did you go to the ancient ruins? Yi Xiaoya asked. She rarely showed her face in public recently. The extreme ice sect had put a bounty on Xiaoqin's head, and she was afraid that she would be caught if she went out. Therefore Yi Xiaoya could only contact Xiaoqin through this method. I went, but there wasn't anything too good inside, said Xiaoqin. I got you some elixir seeds. I'll give them to you when I have time. You don't have to give them to me. If I need them, help me cultivate them. If you give them to me now, I can't cultivate them. It's already winter, said Yi Xiaoya. All right. It's not good for me to show up for a while. If there's anything, contact me through the client, said Xiaoqin. Okay, it's good that you're fine, said Yi Xiaoya. The warrior guild's client was relatively safe. After all, the only one who had a grudge against him was Qiao En's. His father couldn't cover the sky with one hand in the warrior guild. It was very difficult to investigate these chat records. After all, the warrior guild's client had always been protecting privacy. If they broke the rules for a vice president, it would have no credibility, so Xiaoqin wasn't worried that his guild's client would be monitored. After speaking with Yi Xiaoya, he picked up the 5 Poison Secrets and began reading. Xiaoqin's reading. The profound meaning of cultivation in this book was actually to use poison to enter martial arts, to use poison to enter the Tao, and to use poison to cultivate. It could be said to be a devil cultivator, but it could also be said to be a devil cultivator. Of course, it wasn't a way to harm people. It was closer to a devil cultivator. However, it was different from a devil cultivator. From what Xiaoqin saw, using poison to kill people, cultivating the 5 Poison Secrets could improve one's strength, but the overall strength was worse than a pure martial cultivator and a devil cultivator. However, it could be made up for with poison. This was a bit interesting. Xiaoqin looked at it and asked the Elder Heaven Ancestor. Elder Heaven Ancestor, Do you think I can cultivate this 5 poison secrets? It should be possible. It doesn't conflict with your cultivation. Besides, you can't cultivate inner strength, but it doesn't mean you can't cultivate devil cultivator things. The Elder Heaven Ancestor said. You can try, but I have some impression of this 5 poison secrets in my memory. Wait for me to think of it, then you can try. Okay. Xiaoqin naturally listened to the Elder Heaven Ancestor. If the Elder Heaven Ancestor didn't say anything, he didn't dare to cultivate casually. If he cultivated wrong, then he would be screwed. Xiaoqin thought for a moment and put the 5 poison secrets aside. Then he picked up the 10,000 poison scripture and detoxification scripture to read. Inside there was an introduction of various poisons as well as the method to concoct and detoxify. This made Xiaoqin feel that it was somewhat useful. People in the Jianghu had to be on guard. What if someone didn't abide by the rules and poison him in the future? Xiaoqin planned to take some time every day to study these 2 books. Although it was useless now, it would certainly be useful in the future. The night was silent. Xiaoqin cultivated attentively. He had been stuck in the 9th layer of the qi refining stage for some time. Although it wasn't very long for Xiaoqin, it was a long process. However, he didn't touch the barrier of the peak of the 9th layer at all. He felt that he was still lacking something. It might be that in these few battles, it was too easy to defeat the opponents and he didn't play to the limit. So, Xiaoqin wanted to find the opportunity to break through. After stretching, Xiaoqin went to the kitchen to make breakfast for Song Huawu. It didn't take long for Song Huawu to come out of the room yawning. Seeing Xiaoqin busy in the kitchen, she was a little surprised. I'm so sleepy. I didn't sleep enough. Why did you get up so early? I'm so tired these 2 days. I want to sleep all the time. I wanted to go out and have some breakfast. I'm fine. Xiaoqin smiled and served the last dish of tomato soup. There were also a few flour rolls. This was the noodles that Xiaoqin sent in advance. He specialized in making youtiao, so it was easy for him to make these small pastries. I didn't expect that there would be flour rolls and soup in the morning. Cheng Minjing is really lucky. Song Huawu couldn't help but be a little envious. It's not you now, Xiaoqin said. I'm just temporary. Besides, I'm not anyone to you. Song Huawu shrugged. This temporary might not be for long. I can't go back as long as the wanted order isn't revoked. The Xiajili is too much. While Xiaoqin was talking, his phone rang. It was the mobile phone of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Looking at the caller ID, it was really Xiajili. Xiaoqin made a shushing gesture to Song Huawu, then picked up the phone and said, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, hello. Jianan, how is it? Did Song Huawu and Xia Shibing go back? I heard that they have already come out from the ancient ruins. Did they get the book I asked you to get for me? Have you told them? Xia Zhili asked. Yes, but I haven't had the time to ask them. They came back yesterday. How about this, I'll ask them and get back to you. Xiaoqin said. Okay, I'll wait for your call. Xia Zhili looked a little anxious. Obviously he valued the book very much. After hanging up the phone, Xiaoqin asked in his heart, Elder Heaven Ancestor, can I give the 5 poison manual to Xia Zhili? You can give it to him. I just remembered something about the 5 poison manual. You can cultivate it. As for him. Elder Sky paused for a moment before continuing. If I remember correctly, the pills you took out from the ruins were meant to assist in cultivation. Xia Zhili doesn't have any pills. If he tries to forcefully cultivate it, it will be dangerous. Oh? Dangerous? What will happen? Xiaoqin was surprised. I don't know. Maybe he will cultivate to death. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. But the manual should say that he can only cultivate with pills. If he doesn't have them, he might not cultivate. Oh, since that's the case, I won't give him pills. I'll make a copy and give it to him. Xiaoqin felt relieved. This was equivalent to a useless thing. And if Xia Zhili got it, not only would he not say anything, he would also have to give him cultivation resources. Okay, give it to him. When he dies, think of a way to cancel the warrant. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. You always change your appearance, it's a waste of yuan qi, so it's not good for breaking through. So that's why I haven't broken through. Xiaoqin suddenly understood. I was wondering why I felt that I didn't have enough yuan qi. It seems like I can't reach the barrier. Just because I used it up. Yes, but it's a good thing that you don't use illusions here. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to move forward. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Huawu, you eat first. I'll make a copy of the 5 poison manual and send it to Xia Zhili. Xiaoqin said. Oh. You plan to give it to him? Song Huawu was surprised. And I don't have much use for it. It's not bad to be able to exchange it for some cultivation resources. I can't use it, but I can give it to you, Xiao Qin said. For me? Song Huawu was stunned, and then her face turned red. She didn't expect Xiao Qin to say that. Why was he willing to give his cultivation resources to her? In the past, even if Yang Tan liked her and pursued her, he had never shared his cultivation resources. After all, these things were treasures for cultivation. No one would share them. No matter how much he liked her, Yang Tan couldn't give it to her, because strength was the foundation of a martial artist. Without strength, it would be difficult to move a step forward. In Yang Tan's view, he could only control Song Huawu if he had strength. If he didn't have strength, Song Huawu wouldn't like him and rely on him. Therefore, his cultivation resources were exclusive to him. Yes, I can't use it anyway. I'm a demonic cultivator. Those ordinary cultivation resources aren't very useful to me, Xiao Qin said. Ordinary? Song Huawu's eyes widened. You wouldn't say that if you saw it? How could it be ordinary? Yang Tan's resources are useful even for demonic cultivators. Moreover, they would covet it. Don't talk big. Wait until you see it, then decide whether to give it to me or not. Hee, there's no need to look. I said I'll give it to you, so I'll definitely give it to you. Xiao Qin smiled. His cultivation path was different from others. He was a cultivator, not a martial artist. Therefore, these martial artist resources were rarely useful to him. Even if they were useful, they were mainly auxiliary and not main. Song Huawu blinked and didn't say anything. She felt that Xiao Qin was a little too generous, but she also felt that Xiao Qin couldn't be so generous. I'm not anyone to him. Why would he give it to me so casually? Even if he likes me, he can't do this, right? When I'm strong enough, I can completely ignore him. Isn't he drawing water with a wicker basket? Song Huawu's imagination ran wild. Xiao Qin went to his room to copy the 5 Poisons secret manual. When Xiao Qin came out again, it was already 2 hours later. Although the 5 Poisons secret manual wasn't long, because it was written vertically, Xiao Qin had a hard time copying it. Chapter 519. You've settled it? Song Huawu asked. Yes, if Xia Zili asks you, just say that you only found this secret manual in the ancient ruins. Don't mention anything else. Just say that someone else took it. Xiao Qin instructed. Okay, got it. Song Huawu nodded. I'll remind Xia Shibin later. Pack up. We'll make a trip to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau and meet Xia Zili, Xiao Qin said. Okay. Song Huawu went back to her room to change. Xiao Qin sent Xia Shibin a message telling him to get ready and go together. 10 minutes later, the 3 of them packed up and drove to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau's Northern Division. This was Xiao Qin's second time here, but he was very familiar with the place. He skillfully avoided the surveillance equipment and arrived at Xia Zili's office. He knocked on the door and Xia Zili's voice came from inside. Who is it? It's me, Yang Jianan, Xiao Qin said. Come in quickly. Xia Zili was a little anxious. When Xiao Qin pushed the door open and entered, he realized that there were other people in his office. However, when he saw Xiao Qin, Xia Zili impatiently sent him away. We'll talk about your matter next time. You didn't achieve anything this year and you still want cultivation resources? What are you doing? You can't even do what I told you, and you were even beaten up when you were discovered. What a piece of trash. Get lost. Yes. I'm sorry, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia. The man had an apologetic look on his face as he carefully left the office. After he left and closed the door, Xia Zili immediately put on a smile and said, Jianan, why did you come in person? Is there news about the 5 Poisons secret manual? Yes, Huawu and Shibin found this book in the ancient ruins. The 2 of them spent a lot of effort to get this book from other explorers. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to gain an advantage even if they were members of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Xiao Qin explained. Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, you might have heard about a mysterious person called Grandma Nanshan. She's very powerful, and her disciples are 3rd-stage martial masters. Yes, I heard about it. I have my own information channel. You guys did well. Oh, Shibin, I'll remember you. I'll give you some cultivation resources this year. Xia Zili was overjoyed when he heard that he got the book. Jianan, where's the book? Here. Xiao Qin took out the 5 Poisons secret manual and handed it to Xia Zili. Xia Zili carefully took it and flipped through a few pages. He nodded repeatedly. Not bad, this is the book. Jianan, you've done well. Your mission in Songning City can come to an end now. Pack up, I have a new mission for you to do. New? Xiaochen was slightly taken aback. He had never thought of leaving Songning City. That was his hometown. Him pretending to be Yang Tan was just an expedient measure. He did not really treat himself as someone from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Now that he heard Xia Zhili's tone, it seemed like he was going to give him a mission. Xiaochen was really not used to it. Just now I scolded Lil Meng and sent him out. You also saw that he messed up that mission. He has already been seen through and is no longer suitable to continue with the mission. Therefore, I have decided that you will take over his mission. Hua Wu and Shibin will cooperate with you to complete this mission. Xia Zhili said, I don't need to tell you what the mission is. Xiaoming's previous mission was also arranged by you. Yes, Deputy Director Xia. Although Xiaochen said so, he was thinking, who the hell is Little Meng? What the hell was a mission? He had no recollection of it at all. If this matter is done, it will probably be the end of the year. Don't worry, you have contributed a lot this year. I will help you apply for additional cultivation rewards. Xia Zhili said, don't worry, I won't forget you. Okay, thank you, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia. Xiaochen quickly thanked her. He didn't dare to ask more. If he said too much, he would slip up easily. Therefore, Xiaochen turned around and left Xia Zhili's office. When he got out of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau and got in the car, Xiaochen asked, who is Lil Meng? What is the mission? Lil Meng is the deputy team leader of our C team. He is the person who was scolded by Deputy Bureau Chief Xia just now. Xia Zhili said, it's just that he and Brother Yang don't get along. You always speak ill of him behind his back, so Deputy Bureau Chief Xia doesn't like him. I see. Xiaochen was not clear at all. What about the mission? What is the mission? The mission is like this. In Lan City, there is a military research base that is researching some advanced technology. However, there are always some illegal organizations who covet the research projects inside and want to take the research projects out. The security of the research base is the responsibility of our Supernatural Investigation Bureau's C team. Song Huawu explained, previously, it was Deputy Team Leader Tan Guanming who was in charge. It should be because he failed the mission and was discovered. His identity was exposed and he was taught a lesson. He couldn't continue to protect there secretly, so the mission fell to us. Gosh, that means we have to go to Lan City and not Songning? Xiaochen was a little depressed. Yes, the mission of our Supernatural Investigation Bureau is to go from here to there. We have to travel back and forth across the country. I am only in Songning City because of the mission. Now that these two missions are over, it's time to go, Song Huawu said. Okay. Xiaochen couldn't afford to lose the identity of Yang Tan. If Yang Tan was gone, it would be more disadvantageous for him. Therefore he could only nod and agree. In that case, let's go back and pack up. We'll go to Lan City. Then you can tell me the specific details of the mission. No problem. Song Huawu began to introduce the mission to Xiaochen. It turned out that this research institute had researched a relatively advanced energy body and weapon. Now, not only did some foreign agents want to get their hands on these things, but even some international criminal organizations also wanted to get their hands on these high-tech things. Of course, these were not the main problems. It would be fine as long as the security was strengthened. However, Tan Guanming was also responsible for protecting the families of the key personnel in the research institute while protecting the safety of the research institute. The most depressing thing was that he had accidentally leaked the information of the daughter of the person in charge of the research institute. Therefore, the enemy knew who the daughter of the person in charge was. As a result, the safety of his daughter became a major problem. His daughter was also very angry. Originally, no one paid attention to her background when she went to school every day. However, because of Tan Guanming's actions, her identity was exposed, and it was impossible for her to go to school. Therefore, she had to take a week of sick leave from school. Until now, she didn't dare to go to school. She was afraid that she would get into trouble and be kidnapped to threaten the person in charge of the research institute. After listening to Song Huawu's introduction, Xiaochen suddenly had a headache. What kind of mess is this? This kind of thing is the most difficult to do. Does the daughter of the person in charge still want to go to school? We have no right to ask her to drop out of school, and she doesn't want to drop out. Does she want to drop out of school just because her father is the person in charge of the research institute? This is too unrealistic, and this is also the result of our mistake, so... Song Huawu spread her hands and said helplessly, in the end, Tan Guanming is your subordinate. If you don't wipe his PP, who will do it? Xiao Chen was a little speechless after listening to this. He said, "Then who will protect the daughter of the person in charge?" Song Huawu and Xia Shibin looked at Xiao Chen together. "It can't be me, right?" Xiao Chen said gloomily. "Actually, only this task is the easiest. The other tasks are dealing with the research institute and contacting the other members of Team C. Are you sure you can do it?" Song Huawu asked. "This." Xiao Chen frowned. His identity was fake. If something went wrong, it would be easy to be exposed. Only this identity is hidden. We will directly enter the military base, and you will pretend to be a student and go to the school of the person in charge's daughter. Then you will be responsible for protecting her. Song Huawu said. "And because of this task you can get a mask from the bureau. After wearing this mask you can change your face. Although you can't fool experts, you can still fool ordinary martial artists. The most important thing is that it is not easy for your identity to be exposed." "There is a mask? Okay, then this is it." Xiao Chen was immediately happy when he heard that. It was a waste of primordial energy for him to change his appearance now. If he had a mask, this problem would be solved. Naturally, he would not refuse. Song Huawu and Xia Shibin heaved a sigh of relief because what Xiao Chen was doing was very troublesome. They couldn't do it well. Most importantly, Xiao Chen was more like a student than they were. They were just pretending to go to school. After a long time, it would be easy for them to attract attention. If they were exposed, it would be for nothing. Now that the identity of the person in charge's daughter had been exposed, she would definitely receive attention. If there was someone else around her, others would definitely pay special attention. Therefore, Xiao Chen was the most suitable. This way, because of the identity requirement, even if you meet other members of Team C, they won't suspect anything if you don't know them. After all, your identity doesn't allow you to casually talk to them. Otherwise, it will be easy for problems to arise, Song Huawu said. "Alright, then give me the information of the protected target," Xiao Chen said. "And I'm applying, but Deputy Bureau Chief Xia should still be going through the process. We will only have the authority to view those information when he officially authorizes the mission to us," Song Huawu said. Xiao Chen nodded. As they spoke, they had already returned to Songning City. Song Huawu and Xia Shibin went to pack their things. Xiao Chen had nothing to pack, so he called the Qin family. It was reasonable to inform the Qin family that he was leaving. Otherwise, his identity would be suspected. Chapter 520. Before leaving, Xiao Chen went to the Cheng family again. It could be considered as an invitation from old Master Cheng to go to Lan City. He didn't know how long he would be there. He always had some worries in his heart. He was worried about the miss, and he was tangled about the mastermind behind the scenes. This time he went to the Cheng family to fulfill this wish. Old Master Cheng Tianqiu? Xiao Chen dialed the phone number that Cheng Tianqiu left for him. This was a new number. Xiao Chen applied for another card. "Yes, you are." Cheng Tianqiu was stunned because it was an unfamiliar number on the phone, but the voice was familiar. Immediately he thought of who it was and quickly said, "Is it young hero Xiao Chang?" Hello. Why are you calling this old man? What's the matter?" "I have to leave Jiduan City. Before I leave, I want to visit you in Songning City, and then I will go to other cities. I don't know when I will come back," Xiao Chen said. Great. When will young hero Xiao come? This old man will prepare." When Cheng Tianqiu heard that Xiao Chang was coming to visit, he was overjoyed. He wanted to matchmake Cheng Menjing and Xiao Chen, but Xiao En's had already been thrown to the back of his mind. He didn't want to bother with him at all. Xiao En's also knew that the exploration of the ruins almost cost everyone their lives because of him, so he didn't say much. After coming out of the ruins, he left Songning City dejectedly. "Tonight," said Xiao Chen. "Okay, then I will prepare," said Cheng Tianqiu. After hanging up the phone, Cheng Tianqiu personally dialed Cheng Menjing's phone number. These days Cheng Menjing had been worried. Although she knew that Xiao Chen was definitely fine, she couldn't help but be a little worried. There had been no news from Xiao Chen for several days. She didn't know why she would miss Xiao Chen, but every time she thought of Xiao Chen in the villa, preparing breakfast and dinner for her, accompanying her to go shopping and going to school, she would feel very warm. Even sitting with Xiao Chen to eat instant noodles had become a very nostalgic memory. In the villa, Xiao Chen suddenly disappeared. Cheng Menjing felt lonely. Because Xiao Chen didn't cook, Yi Xiaoye didn't come down to eat. Cheng Menjing and Jin Beibei basically bought food. The phone rang. Cheng Menjing took a look at it. It was a call from home. She picked it up weakly. Hello, Menjing, it's Grandpa. Qing Tianqiu said excitedly. Are you free tonight? I need to go home. Ah, Grandpa, tonight? Qing Menjing was slightly stunned. Today was not the weekend, nor was it a festival. Why did he suddenly ask her to go home? Was it because of Qiao En's? She had heard from her father that Qiao En's was very close to the Qing family recently. It seemed that he wanted to talk to old Master Qing about her and him. However, Qing Menjing disliked Qiao En's very much, so she pretended that she didn't know anything and didn't say anything. Yes, let me introduce a young talent to you, said Qing Tianqiu. He is really a young talent. He is young and promising. Qiao En's? Qing Menjing frowned. Ah no, it's someone else. You will know when you come, said Qing Tianqiu. Can I not see him? Qing Menjing resisted. No, this is an order from the family. You must come back. Qing Tianqiu said seriously. Then, okay. Qing Menjing sighed. Most of the time, the children of aristocratic families had no choice. It was the same when she was engaged to Xiao Qin. She couldn't resist. Qing Menjing hung up the phone unhappily. Jin Beibei, who was beside her, roughly heard the conversation and said, Cousin Menjing, what young talent? My grandpa said he would introduce me to a young talent. Qing Menjing said unhappily, Didn't I break off the engagement with Xiao Qin? They always want to marry me again. It was Qiao En's before and now there is another young talent. Young talent? Then we can go and have a look, said Jin Beibei. What do you want to see? I don't want to see him. I'm not in the mood to see him. Your cousin-in-law. Oh no, Xiao Qin is missing. I don't know how he is doing. Qing Menjing glared at Jin Beibei. It's all your fault. What does it have to do with me? Cousin Menjing said it herself. Jin Beibei felt wronged. You used to call him cousin-in-law all the time. I'm getting used to it, said Qing Menjing. How can I be blamed for something like that? Jin Beibei was a little upset. Tonight you will go back to the Qing family with me. Help me block that so-called young talent. It's better if he gives up, said Qing Menjing. Okay. Jin Beibei nodded. Can you not talk like that? Who did you learn it from? Asked Qing Menjing. In the Campus Bells Ace mobile game in the TV series, that Yushu likes to bark. I think it's quite fun, so I invented a bark, said Jin Beibei. No more bark. Qing Menjing was a little annoyed by her bark. Oh. Jin Beibei nodded. I said no more. Qing Menjing said angrily. I said ow. Jin Beibei explained. Qing Menjing ignored her. After school at night, although Qing Menjing was reluctant, she still went to the Qing family with Jin Beibei. Seeing his daughter's unhappy face, Qing Zhongming felt a little helpless. He had no say in the Qing family. No one paid attention to his words. With Qing Zhongming interfering and Qing Tianqiu making the final decision, what else could he say? He could only look at his daughter helplessly. Menjing, you're back. Yes. Dad, what's going on? Why do you want me to meet that young talent all of a sudden? Who is it? Asked Qing Menjing. I don't know the details, but I heard that it's your grandpa. He saved your life when we were exploring the ancient ruins a few days ago. He's very powerful and your grandpa admires him a lot, said Qing Zhongming. Is he here? Qing Menjing knew that her grandpa went to the ancient ruins, but she didn't know the details, so she didn't ask. Yes, he's here. He's secretly investigating with your grandpa. But his name is a little strange. His surname is also Xiao, Qing Zhongming said. What's wrong with his surname? Qing Menjing's heart skipped a beat, but she pretended to be indifferent. In fact, she thought of Xiao Qin again at this moment. His surname is Xiao? Jin Beibei's eyes lit up. Then I have to go and see if he's also a transformer? Beibei, don't be reckless. This person is definitely very powerful. Even if I don't like him, don't make the Qing family hate you. It's best to outsmart him and make him back off. Qing Menjing reminded her. Got it? Jin Beibei nodded. Under Qing Zhongming's lead, the two of them entered the living room of the Qing family. At this moment, Xiao Qin was sitting in the living room. His appearance had changed to that of Xiao Chang. At this moment he was talking cheerfully with Qing Tianqiu. Haha, thank you, young hero Xiao. Otherwise I would have died in the ancient ruins. Qing Tianqiu said emotionally. It's just a piece of cake. Xiao Qin picked up the teacup and took a sip. Then he smiled calmly. By the way, you told me just now that your granddaughter is a rare beauty. I wonder if she has finished school? Hearing that Xiao Chang was interested in Qing Menjing, Qing Tianqiu was overjoyed. It seemed that his bragging just now was worth it. It seemed that Xiao Chang had really listened to him. So he quickly said, "She should be soon. School is almost over." "Speak of the devil. He's here. Menjing, come here quickly. Let me introduce you to the talented young man, young hero Xiao Chang." Oh. Cheng Menjing walked over reluctantly and nodded at Xiao Qin reluctantly. "Hello, young hero Xiao. Hello, Transformer." Jin Beibei greeted Xiao Qin. Oh. Cough cough cough. Xiao Qin almost choked to death. "I've been recognized again? That's impossible, right? This is too amazing, isn't it? Does Jin Beibei have a pair of discerning eyes?" However, Xiao Qin still asked tentatively, "Well, little beauty, what's a transformer? Why did you call me that?" "Nothing. I was just joking," Jin Beibei said. "Haha, this is my granddaughter's good friend. She likes to joke." Qing Tianqiu tried to smooth things over. "Young hero Xiao, please don't mind her. This is my granddaughter, Qing Menjing." "It doesn't matter. Your granddaughter's good friend has big breasts and is quite cute." Xiao Qin looked at Jin Beibei lecherously. In fact, he had come to see Qing Menjing in secret and did not want to expose his identity. If he was exposed, he would not know what to say or how to face her. It would be better to just meet her. Jin Beibei was too amazing. Therefore Xiao Qin could only pretend to be a lecher so that she would hate him. Then it would be inappropriate for her to pay attention to him directly. "Is that so? Oh. Cousin-in-law, you have good taste," Jin Beibei said happily. "Do you like me too?" Oh. Cough cough cough. Xiao Qin's hands shook so hard that he almost smashed the teacup in his hand on her head. "Well, what does cousin-in-law mean?" Aren't you the guy that Grandpa Cheng introduced to cousin Menjing? Doesn't that make you cousin-in-law? Isn't that right?" Jin Beibei touched her forehead and said in confusion. "Jin Beibei, are you having a fever? What nonsense are you talking about?" Cheng Menjing looked at Jin Beibei in confusion. Is this girl in heat or something? She had asked her to help her block Xiao Chang, but she did not expect that she would fall for him first. Xiao Chang was obviously a lecher whose eyes were almost glued to Jin Beibei's breasts. Why would Jin Beibei be interested in such a person? Or was Jin Beibei going to praise him first and then criticize him later in order to set him up? Qing Menjing was more or less confused. Why was she calling him cousin-in-law? Was it not messy enough? "You didn't get a fever, did you?" Jin Beibei touched her forehead in a serious manner before extending her hand to Xiao Qin. Chapter 521. The next moment, Jin Beibei's hand touched Xiao Qin's forehead. "It's as hot as my cousin-in-law's. I'm sure you don't have a fever." Percent? Qing Menjing was a little speechless. Can you not be so intimate with him? Xiao Qin was also a little confused. Did she really see through him again? How did she see through him? "Ha, old Master Qing, your granddaughter's friend is really lively and lovely." Xiao Qin smiled. He was a little overwhelmed. Yes, she likes to play around. Qing Tianqiu, however, was unhappy. Damn it. Don't let Jin Beibei take him away. He is a super good candidate for my grandson-in-law. If he is taken away, won't I cry my heart out? Thinking of this, Qing Tianqiu said, "Okay, I've prepared a sumptuous dinner. Let's go and have a meal together." "Okay, let's go." Xiao Qin nodded and said. He was a little afraid of Jin Beibei. He didn't know if she was testing him or if she had really recognized him, or if she had some tricks up her sleeves. They walked to the banquet hall together. At this time, Cheng Zhongfan also walked over with Cheng Mingqiang. Cheng Zhongfan walked over with a smile and said to Xiao Qin warmly, "Young Master Xiao Qin, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for saving my father's life in the antiquity relics. Mingqiang, come and say hello to young Master Xiao." "Nice to meet you, young Master Xiao. Welcome to the Qing family." Cheng Mingqiang also said politely, "Oh Qing Mingqiang, I've heard of you. One of my martial arts sects mentioned you to me." Xiao Qin said calmly. Instantly, Qing Mingqiang's expression changed slightly. Qing Zhongfan, who was beside him, also forced himself to remain calm. He did not know how to reply, but Qing Tianqiu, who was beside him, was a little surprised. Meng Chang, do you have any friends from the martial arts sects?" The so-called martial arts sect was a higher level than the real martial clan and the real martial sect. These sects were the real martial arts people, while the real martial clan and the real martial sect were just the inheritance of the martial arts world. They were not the real martial arts world but gradually connected with the secular world. As for Granny Nanshan, she should have come from the real martial arts world. Although Xiaochen wasn't sure what the martial arts world was about, and Yi Xiaoya's Devil Star sect wasn't even a real martial arts sect, Xiaochen only guessed that a sect that could influence the warrior guild's trial missions should be a higher-level sect. At the very least, the Demon Star sect couldn't do it. Hence, he probed and asked to see Qing Mingxiang's reaction. And the result, Xiaochen was very satisfied. As expected, Qing Tianqiu shouldn't know about this. Of course, he couldn't rule out the possibility that he was old and shrewd, hiding it well. However, Xiaochen was more willing to believe in his sixth senses. Qing Zhongfan and Qing Mingxiang knew about the martial arts sects, and they seemed to really know someone. However, Qing Tianqiu didn't know. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked with such an expression. Haha, I don't know either. Maybe we met at the Righteous and Demonic Summit? Sigh, what a pity. I don't even know who young hero Xiao is talking about. Qing Mingxiang explained, pretending to be relaxed. I see. Qing Tianqiu was a little regretful. To be able to be friends with people from the martial arts sects was undoubtedly equivalent to being friends with a tycoon in the secular world. However, Qing Mingxiang might not have cared at that time, so he could only give up. That's nothing. Xiaochen waved his hand and said, I happen to be hungry. Let's eat. Yes, let's eat. Qing Zhongfan laughed and invited Xiaochen to take a seat. Xiaochen naturally sat next to Qing Tianqiu, and Qing Tianqiu was about to let his granddaughter sit next to Xiaochen. However, before he said anything, Jin Beibei sat next to Xiaochen. Qing Minjing was naturally happy to sit on the other side of Jin Beibei. However, she still didn't know what Jin Beibei was going to do. The kitchen was already ready. As soon as everyone sat down, delicious food was served. Qing Tianqiu smiled and picked up his wine glass. Thanks to young hero Zhao's care in the ancient ruins. Young hero Xiao is young and promising. You're already a martial arts master at such a young age. It's admirable. Young hero Xiao, are you married? You're welcome. Not yet, Xiaochen said. Not yet. Young hero Xiao, what do you think of my granddaughter? Qing Tianqiu took advantage of the situation and said shamelessly, Qing Minjing is a beautiful girl at the school level. Not bad, right? Yes, it's pretty good. Xiaochen nodded. Young hero Xiao, what do you think? I want to betroth my granddaughter to you as a repayment for saving my life. Qing Tianqiu's words were a little shameless. He was obviously trying to rope in Xiaochen, but he said it was a repayment. Qing Zhongfan frowned slightly. To be honest, he didn't want Qing Minjing to marry Xiao Chang. Although it seemed to be beneficial to the Qing family, Xiao Chang's strength was too high and his background was unknown. There were too many uncontrollable factors. It might be disadvantageous for Qing Mingxiang to control the Qing family in the future, so he didn't want Xiao Chang to be the son-in-law of the Qing family. However, he didn't have any say in the Qing family. Seeing that Qing Tianqiu was determined to do this, it wasn't good for him to interrupt. He could only hope that Xiao Chang would refuse. I'll think about it, but I'm not strong enough right now. I might not be able to marry your granddaughter. Xiaochen said after thinking for a while. Qing Minjing heaved a sigh of relief. Qing Mingxiang and Qing Zhongfan also heaved a sigh of relief. However, Qing Tianqiu took a deep breath. Young hero Xiao, if you aren't strong now, then what is? You live up to your name, Xiao Chang. Are you very strong? You're practically young Master Chang. What I mean is that I agree to this marriage. I like Miss Menjing a lot too. However, the day I look down on the world will be the day I marry Menjing. Xiaochen said with a smile. Actually, he wasn't just saying it casually. He just didn't know why he said it. Could it be that he still liked Qing Minjing subconsciously and couldn't forget her? Perhaps that was really the case. He wouldn't cherish the time that belonged to him. Only when he lost it would he know how precious it was. Now that he had a chance to grasp her again, Xiaochen definitely wouldn't give it up. Qing Minjing's face paled slightly. Who wants to marry you? Look down on the world? It's best if you get killed early. You came to the Qing family to act cool. Do you think I like you? Aren't you afraid of hurting your tongue with your big talk? Okay. Cousin-in-law, when you look down on the world, do you want a mistress? Jin Beibei asked. Xiaochen was a little speechless. What kind of logic was that? Do you think I will? Yes. What do you think? Jin Beibei nodded. Okay. Xiaochen smiled tentatively and carefully observed Jin Beibei's expression. However, he couldn't see anything. Qing Minjing lowered her head and didn't say anything. The entire meal depended on Qing Tianqiu to adjust the atmosphere. Qing Zhongfan and Qing Mingxiang were also a little depressed. However, fortunately, Xiao Chang wasn't going to marry Cheng Menjing now. They still had a chance. At that time, the situation might have been decided. In that case, it wouldn't matter who Cheng Menjing married. It would have nothing to do with them. Thinking of this, Cheng Zhongfan and Cheng Mingqiang looked at each other and calmed down. After toasting each other, Xiao Chen was happy. He was engaged to Cheng Menjing again. Although he was using Xiao Chang's identity, it was still him. He was very happy, very happy. She was back. The young mistress had returned to his side. No matter what, she belonged to him again. Therefore, Xiao Chen couldn't help but drink a few more cups. Cheng Tianxiu urged Xiao Chen to drink more and he didn't refuse. I'm going to the washroom. Xiao Chen drank too much, but he wasn't drunk. He just needed to pee, so he planned to go to the washroom. Oh, I'm going too. Jin Beibei also stood up and followed him. Originally, Cheng Tianxiu wanted Cheng Menjing to bring Xiao Chang to the washroom. He was afraid that Xiao Chang wouldn't know the washroom in the restaurant. In the end, Jin Beibei went there, so he couldn't say anything. Jin Beibei often came to the Cheng family, so she knew the washroom. Xiao Chen sensed that Jin Beibei had followed him, but he didn't look back. Instead, he walked all the way to the washroom. He really wanted to pee, but when he walked in and unbuttoned his pants to pee, he heard footsteps behind him. Cousin-in-law. Xiao Chen was so scared that he quickly pulled up his pants. In the end, he peed all over his pants, which made him a little depressed. He turned his head with a dark expression and said, Jin Beibei, right? Why are you in the men's washroom? What the heck? You really came here to pee? Jin Beibei looked at Xiao Chen's wet pants and widened her eyes. Nonsense. I came to the washroom. What else can I do but use the washroom? Xiao Chen was a little speechless. Oh, go ahead then. Beibei will wait for you, Jin Beibei said. How can I pee when you are standing here? Xiao Chen said with a bitter smile. We are so familiar with each other. It's okay, right? Besides, Beibei won't peek, Jin Beibei said. What do you mean? Xiao Chen asked. I know you like Cousin Menjing, don't you? Look, you transformed into Xiao Chang and got engaged to Cousin Menjing, Jin Beibei said with a smile. Transformed? You know who I am? Xiao Chen asked. Aren't you Yang Tan? Jin Beibei said. Huh? Xiao Chen was stunned. Then are you White Fox? Jin Beibei asked again. Xiao Chen was speechless. All right, cousin-in-law, stop fooling around. Go ahead and pee. I will wait for you at the door. If you keep holding it in and explode, Cousin Menjing won't be able to have sex in the future. What am I going to do if she comes after me? Jin Beibei turned around and walked out while mumbling. Xiao Chen slapped his forehead. I was still recognized in the end? This can't be right? Why am I always recognized? Am I so easy to be recognized? Looking at Jin Beibei's expression, Xiao Chen was 100% sure that she had recognized him. Looking at his wet pants, Xiao Chen used some of his primordial energy to dry them. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing to go out like this. After walking out of the washroom, Jin Beibei was still looking at herself in the mirror. She puffed her cheeks and made some funny movements. Seeing Xiao Chen come out, she said, Cousin-in-law, you are out. Is the relic fun? Did you bring me a present? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.